We ready to roll? We are.
I'm ready.
Perfect.
I'm so
First of all, hello
ready
everybody,
right now.
and welcome to We Need to Talk, the one podcast that did not endorse Donald John Trump for president of the United States. Muammar Gaddafi, on the other hand, I do humbly apologize for that. It was 2002. I was 11. I didn't know the type of people I would meet on neopets.com. And I did not realize that it would result in the war crimes on the Mizratin people. But that just happens. And speaking of war crimes, Wrath of Fire is joining us tonight. Wrath's entire existence is a war crime in on itself, and proof that God, in fact, is dead. This is what happens when I don't do a podcast with Harriet. She's kind of my
Is this intro off the dome, or did you write this down before we got here?
It was a mix of that. Like, some of it I was writing it off the dome, and the rest of it was just like, I think I got an idea for this. But
Homie was planning an apology for the Libyan people, a much delayed apology to the Libyan people.
hey, bonus points on you for knowing Muammar Gaddafi caused shit in Libya.
Listen,
I
do my research.
I am going to pick your brain because I am very fascinated about, your educational background, especially your writing and your editing style. But for those of you that are not aware, we're joined tonight with YouTuber Spooky Deer. Like me, he's in the gaming space. He is a video essayist. Unlike me, he's American, but it's okay. Not everyone can be perfect.
I would say my sincerest apologies for that. Yeah.
But at least he's not in the Epstein files, and that is all that really matters. I need to find some way to segue into modern gaming, and obviously both of us can't disconnect from the scene. We are very aware of the insanity that is going forth involving Jeffrey Epstein, and surprisingly, former CEO of Electronic Arts, Bobby Kotick.
Current CEO of Activision Blizzard, Candy Crush, whatever the fuck else, their whole
nickeling diming extraordinaire.
Yes, Microtransaction City. That's our boy. It's Robert Kotick. And by our boy, I mean put him in jail. Anyways, hello, hi.
Hello, everybody. I will be reading through the chat as well. I'm sorry if I won't be able to get to all questions. Sometimes I really get brought into the chat, the consideration, and stuff like that. But for those that weren't aware with what our banter has been talking about, they released an entire new slew of the Epstein files that anyone can go on and check, so long as you confirm that you are above the age of 18, which doesn't really do anything, but you can go in and you can search by name or by keyword, and one of the things that's brought up is email back and forth between former CEO of Electronic Arts, Activision Blizzard, Bobby Kotick, and known sex trafficker / Jeffrey Epstein. And one of the things that is brought in is the conversation behind bringing in microtransactions into Call of Duty Black Ops 2, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah. And using...
You did a deeper dive than I did. I saw the news and said, Jesus Christ. And I couldn't dig any further. My full review of Jeffrey Epstein introducing microtransactions into Call of Duty is, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. But the thing that I want to preface this as well is that Electronic Arts has been using microtransactions before the inclusion of Jeffrey Epstein. I believe my first sort of run-in, because originally microtransactions was primarily like DLC and things like that. Like, I remember
horse armor. Yeah,
the horse armor, which we all know, but that wasn't from Electronic Arts. But like, it was starting to really take off and appear in certain games. Like, I believe Yavik, who was a character from Mass Effect 2, he was supposed to be like one of the Protheans, who was sort of like a pre-existing
Pre-order
pre-order bonus, a precursor alien race that took place before the Reapers showed up and wrecked shop. So I was assuming, like, sitting there going, wait, that's a key story character. That
is a huge plot line.
That is a huge
that we
narrative.
should be knowing about.
Right.
And it kind of just snowballed from there. So now video games and microtransactions have become a massive purveyor of not only modern video games, but the online media landscape. And the fact that we have someone like Jeffrey Epstein to help thank for that is not a great thing. But let's go away from Epstein. Let's talk about.
Thank God.
I'm just like, you know what? This.
Anyway.
Yeah. Time.
A sweet reprieve. There might be more time for it later, but yeah.
Let's talk about you. Let's talk about YouTube, and let's talk about the gaming space. Now, you are kind of a very interesting thing because you got started in 2020. Primarily July 31st or so. Did you lurk on the platform first, or did you?
Holy shit, Nardwar. Okay. You're talking like in YouTube specifically. Yeah, interesting. I guess like look into my journey. Before I start this whole thing, because you can probably edit around this.
Yeah.
It sounds like in the chat, Sonic, you might want to bump your gain up a little bit.
My gain. Okay, I can definitely.
Yeah. I would say we're here. I'm seeing that you're quiet. This is the beautiful thing of doing it live. I love having people. A lot of the people in chat right now are hi everyone from my Twitch community, which I think will segue me in perfectly into kind of like what the origin story of the whole thing is. 2020, you remember it? You probably didn't love it. It's when COVID shut down the world and everybody bought a computer and started trying to make content because there was nothing else to do. I was also in that boat. It was a very similar experience. A few weeks leading up to the like kickoff of the pandemic, I had just moved from the state that I was born and raised in to a completely different state, thinking like, hey, this will be a brand new adventure. I'll meet tons of people. And then once in a generation global health crisis shut the world down. And then I didn't meet any new people in person for years. The beauty of that is sometime in that whole process, someone had put a bug in my ear about Twitch. I'd never really like heard of Twitch. I'd never watched Twitch. I'd never watched live streamers. And I started sort of dabbling in it, and I was like, damn, this is something that I think that I want to do. I have a little bit of background in like radio broadcasting from college.
That makes so much sense.
Does it track?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I have a lot of comfort, I guess, being live. I'd done like live theater for a long time, leading up to like my undergrad and through undergrad. So I'm like very comfortable in like being in front of people and being in like dynamic situations. So I was like, this is a great fit. Let's do this. Little did I know how much of an impact Twitch specifically would have on my life. We were talking before the show started. Obviously, because there was no other way to like meet other people at the time, just given the circumstances of like the state of the world, I ended up getting very involved in a number of communities, and met some of who I now consider some of my closest friends. These are like the friends that you make in adulthood. Like, you know, I still have friends from high school and from college, but like it was really hard being like someone at the time in their like late 20s. It's like, how the hell do you meet people? And finding like shared community and priorities and values through these like various groups on Twitch was amazing. And a lot of that has cross-pollinated into my own group and vice versa. All that to be said, I made a YouTube channel to like hold down the username because I also had an interest in like trying to figure out what it meant to like make not live content. And I didn't do a very good job of that for most of the time that I've been making content. I think live streaming, there's an ease to it that I find in live streaming, because it's like you can just kind of like show up and do something. Having an improv background, having all that kind of stuff, being able to play off of chat, being able to play off like the dynamic aspects of like whatever game you're playing, is a completely different beast from the type of video content that I make. And if you look back through my channel, at least at the stuff that I haven't unlisted because I can't bear to look at it.
I've seen some stuff. I looked at some of your live stream stuff and I'm like, is he using the built-in PlayStation iToy to capture himself?
Oh, you went all the way back. Yeah. So when I started streaming, I didn't even have a PC. I hadn't been a PC gamer in decades. I did not have like a rig constructed. I had a PlayStation 4, and I remember vividly in like this had to have been like February of 2020. So like, 6 years ago today, let's say, I walked into a Target and bought a PlayStation 4 camera, set it up on my entertainment system, and just like that was my mic and my camera. So I just yelled at my TV, hoping that it would pick up good enough audio. And like I had like a few friends who were like kind enough to watch me early on as I was figuring it out. And then I did that for like a couple months. I got a job in the midst of the whole thing. My wife is in chat. Hello, I love you. And
she is such a darling.
She is. That's why I married her. And then I took like a very long break, built a PC in like August of 2020, and it was like, I'm going to do this like for real and start streaming. And that's when, I started like figuring out production value, and like I didn't really have like good camera presence, and that's where it's all evolved from there. I don't remember the original thrust of the question, but yeah, YouTube was something that I wanted to do but didn't know how to do, and I still feel like I don't know how to do. I think I've just been incredibly fortunate that an idea that I had for multiple years before I ever made my like this like first Call of Duty video. Not even a big Call of Duty guy. I'm a big history guy. I'm a big like I'm a big like, it's just like I'm a big like, talk to the like talk to the masses, and like I wanted to have like I had ideas, and I was like, this is consumable. I had this idea years ago, and truly without Nonder, who is in chat, who is my editor, this wouldn't be as sustainable as it has been. He's been an incredible creative partner, and has helped me like really lift from having to do absolutely everything myself to only having to do like I would say, God, I can't undersell how important his work is on it. I'm doing like 40% of the work on these videos now. It's like the writing and research is an incredible amount of work. But then it's just like, then I hand him, like an hour and a half long of just me talking plus 10 hours of gameplay with like timestamps. And somehow every time we make like an hour long video out of it. And I don't understand, how it's possible. And I'm incredibly thankful.
Do you,
maybe I'm getting ahead of where we're at, but yeah.
Well, no, because I'm oddly fascinated by this. Part of me has to laugh as well, because to some degree, I have a lot of weaknesses when I do YouTube and live streaming, and it seems what weaknesses I have, you excel in, and vice versa. So,
yeah,
because you primarily mentioned you did, your background is live streaming, you do improv, you do a lot of stage presence and things like that, and shifting from Twitch to YouTube was where the difficulty primarily was, whereas I was someone who was 100% geared onto YouTube, but then was hesitant going to Twitch and doing the live stream stuff. Live streaming to me is a little chaotic. You saw the New Year's Day live stream that we did.
Yeah.
And I don't
sleep deprived and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. We were all sleep deprived, but I don't like having those moments where you use filler words, ahs, like things like that.
Sure.
And those long sort of awkward dead air gaps, as well as when you are doing a live stream, sometimes you might not have people that are on, and it will be a slow night. And so if it's just you in the game, you're just kind of sitting there going, why did I bother live streaming? And that can kind of take that away. Whereas in YouTube, for me, it's all kind of like, for me, YouTube has been local cable television, where you could sit there and you have something that's way more polished, way more jump cut, and you can put that out there. Whereas your stuff was radio, mine was in film and television. So I was using that as a means of being able to go and show off my resume and CV and say, hey, I know I'm just talking about video games here, but there's stuff here.
But, like, look what I can do.
Look what I can do. Bring me on to your company. I can be that person that you want.
Witness me.
But
it's like it was your sizzle reel.
Yeah, 100% it was my sizzle reel. But another thing that made me laugh, because you had mentioned it, I got my start live streaming when I had a massive breakup, and all the money that I had saved for an engagement ring went into buying a PlayStation 4 and the built-in camera that was across the top. So when you were casually mentioning it, I'm like, I know that exact camera angle. I know that exact format. That is 100% what I was doing when I started doing live streaming, roughly about the same time. But
I know I shouldn't.
Like a very common starting point.
But
I know I shouldn't. I know I shouldn't laugh, but when I was trying to do, like, say, live streaming and Twitch at the same time, all I had was an Xbox, but I also had an Xbox Connect camera.
Oh no!
So I can't really tease Sonic that much.
So we all kind of start off with what we have available. I would have probably joined YouTube a lot earlier if it wasn't for the fact that I did not have the money for a laptop. It wasn't until I started college where they're like, hey, you need a laptop, you need Final Cut Pro 7, you need iMovie, you need GarageBand. And I'm like, okay, well, might as well take a look at the creator space. And then, like, you start with bare bones, whatever you have available. And then when you have some money saved up, you look at there and go, okay, I need to get new gear. How do I don't know how to use the gear yet, but I will learn as I go along. And there's that natural progression that kind of comes along.
Yes.
I will casually say, because once again, there's not much of an age difference between you and me, because you said established 1993 on your thing. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm 3 years older. This guy is in my crew in terms of games. And then you put out Mercenaries for the PlayStation 2, and I'm like, okay, he's one of me. Just a different thing.
Yes.
So
Jesus, are we all 90s babies?
I think we
are
all
90s.
We are 90s babies.
Oh my god,
good place to be.
One of us. One of us.
One of us. I remember before technology ruined everything.
I remember dial-up.
I remember the time before I had a rectangle in my pocket that makes me sad. Like, there's a lot of, like, good stuff.
I remember the years of Adam Sessler and Morgan Webb. Back during the...
And saying horrific things about the nation of Japan.
And saying horrific things about the nation of Japan, but that was kind of most people start to, wait, you can talk about video games and get paid for it on television?
No, it's like, here's the thing. Until clips of G4 started resurfacing, I was like, I remember the G4 era and being like, this is incredible.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then I watched the clips back and I was like, holy shit.
It does not age well. That
does not hold up well. You know what does hold up well? And you know what kind of got me into the realm of talking about video games? And this may play into some of the conversation that you kind of teased me we would talk about later. So I'm a Minnesota native. And one of the, like, I think great, like, long running bastions of, like, games writing and games publications was Game Informer, which has made its return in some ways. I have a fresh copy sitting somewhere in this room with me. But they are a Minneapolis based company. Little known fact.
Yeah.
And I remember my first copy of Game Informer, a buddy gave to me in like 2004, 2003. And it was the cover story for Realms of EverQuest Champions of Norath, which is still one of my favorite games of all time. It's just a Diablo clone.
PlayStation 2.
PlayStation 2.
Yep.
A classic.
I remember it.
It's the buddy that gave me that copy of Game Informer, he and I still to this day try to play through Champions of Norath once a year, every year. Incredibly formative game for some reason. But it was like reading those reviews and like reading the articles that they put about it. I was just like, I want to do that. I want to talk about games.
Yep.
And if you look far enough back, you can see that I like tried my hand at like dabbling in like game reviews, but like I never had the like time or the workflow to maintain the like or the budget, I guess, right? To like kind of keep up with like current releases. And if you're, you know, reviewing games that are, you know, a year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, 10 years old, it's a much smaller audience and market. You know, it's like then you start dipping yourself into like the retrospective territory. And I think that's sort of what slowly but surely led me into kind of like where we're at on like the video essay grind. And I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out a sword bear who's in chat right now. One of my dear friends, also an incredible video essay YouTuber, perhaps another guest for the show at some point in the future.
I wouldn't mind talking with
the most talented among us. Truly, like not sus among us, like the most talented among us. It is Sword Bear, and don't let him play humble.
So you had a copy of Game Informer. I had a copy of official US PlayStation magazine, and I used to go down because my mom worked for one of the internet and cable providers called Shaw. This is back when I was living in Vancouver, British Columbia, and they gave us access to G4 TV, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, this plus the PlayStation magazine plus IGN was starting to make video content. GameSpot was starting to make video content, and I'm looking at this going,
Games trailer.
This is going to be a new thing. And already, like, I'm borderline ADHD autistic, where I would just walk into my local GameStop / EB Games, and I would talk the ears off of the people behind the counter just talking about video games. They just look at me and go, whatever, you just gonna buy something, kid? Because like you're here right. It's just like, every day.
Where the hell are your parents? Yeah.
Where are your parents? Who are your parents?
As a former GameStop employee,
I worked at GameStop
zero
too.
hate.
I worked at GameStop too.
A preferred customer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you?
I worked for a year, 2009 to 2010. What are your GPG numbers at?
Ours was actually one of the best in the region, much to my chagrin. I thought it was slop from the start, but you know, unironically, one of the best managers I ever had was at that GameStop. Shout out Chris. I remember our district manager came in, big old bastard of a man, but he was like, Spooky, my legal name, Spooky. He's like, I think you've got a career in GameStop corporate. And, you know, it was 2014, 2015. I had just graduated from undergrad, couldn't find like a real job. So I was working at GameStop. And yeah, district manager Bob came in and was like, you can make a career of this. And after he left, I turned to my manager, Chris, and I was like, yeah, Bob's saying that he could make me a store manager. And Chris looked me dead in the face and he's like, if you continue to work for this fucking company, I'll kill you with my bare hands. He said, as a GameStop manager. And I was just like, heard, duly noted. He's like, I'm going to do everything in my power to get you out of here so you don't work here anymore. And he did. And I got a great job probably 4 or 5 months after that conversation, which was a huge relief. Do I wish that there had been an employee stock option that I could have forgotten about until circa 2020, 2021? Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
No.
Yeah, of course. The greatest injustice was that I didn't have, you know, that they weren't paying my paycheck in GameStop, in valueless GameStop stock at that point in time. But, you know,
I mean,
to the moon.
Is what it is. Go ahead.
On that point, I want to say I'm still kicking myself in the nads because before that GameStop stock fiasco was going on, I literally like 3 days before it went absolutely crazy, I sold all of my stuff. I had like maybe six stocks, and I was like negative like 20, and I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and cut my losses. And then that bullshit happened, and I'm like trying to get back into it. And of course, you know, when that stuff started happening, they're like, no, you can't buy it. You can't buy it. Stop. What are you doing? Why are you trying to buy it?
Diamond hands, Wrath. Where were your diamond hands?
I was freaking diamond hands, and I'm so pissed. But there's a small little gleaming light because my grandmother, God bless her soul. Well, she's not dead, but you know, God bless her anyway. She she wanted to get into stocks because I was dabbling in it too, and I was like, you know what, go deal with this. Get yourself like a GameStop stock. She got one, and of course, after all that happened, I forgot that she even had a stock until she brought it up, and she got it for like $4, but she cashed it when we cashed it in. She had got like a $30 profit. You know,
it's still a profit. Yeah,
it's still profit.
Yeah,
you know,
that was like it's still profit.
Not getting grandma on the 2020 equivalent of 2012 Bitcoin for a minute there. Like, also rip Bitcoin, I guess. Apparently today.
We'll see. As Cody Johnston of Some More News has said, money is made up at this point. The stock market, like I have seen,
always has been.
I will say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will say this. Invest in silver. Do it right now.
Invest in silver.
Do it right now. In silver.
Okay.
Not financial advice, but
yeah, not financial advice.
Hashtag not financial advice.
Wrath got burned with the diamond hands once. It's not gonna fucking happen again.
No.
But seriously, like look at the silver at least, because I bought like silver when it was like $20 an ounce several years ago, and now it's up to like, you know, it was up to like 110 an ounce, but I decided, you know, I'm just gonna let it sit there because now it's at 80. It's like and and now it's at like, you know, $80 something an ounce. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'll just let it go. I'll just leave it. Just don't touch it.
Here's the thing. Again, not financial advice, but I used to work in finance.
Yep.
The whole idea is like it's a long game, right? And you like the best advice that I can ever give is like if you're investing in retirement, which you should be doing, don't look at it.
Yeah.
Look at it like semi-annually and be like, duly noted, it still exists. But like, don't fucking look at that shit. Because if you watch the graph do the stupid stuff that'll
going up, go down,
panic,
and it's going down
and then
more.
You sell your GameStop stock
just before
you go to the moon.
Yeah,
before the moon.
So
you Columbia disastered when you could have been to the moon. You know?
So I'll give you a brief run through. This was like just shortly after the pandemic. I was in financial dire straits to the point where I'm just sitting there going like, I'm on unemployment insurance. If I don't find myself a job soon, I'm going to have to start asking people for money. And I don't like being a bother to people. I don't like putting myself into debt. And luckily at the time, I got a job as a streetcar driver for the city of Toronto, very briefly, but while I'm going through...
Hell yeah!
Yeah, while I'm going through... My story is so fucking weird. I do not have the amount of time to tell you everything on one podcast. But at the time, I'm sitting there going like, when is my first paycheck going to go? Because I am fucked if something doesn't happen. And they're like, you just got to wait like 2 more weeks. And I'm like, I don't think I can pay my bills if I wait for 2 more weeks. And then at that exact moment, I realized I have stocks in Amazon. And
I'm sitting on stock of the most valuable company in the history of the world.
Well, it single-handedly kept me alive while I was waiting for my paycheck with the Toronto Transit Commission. And I'm just sitting there going, the only reason why I got that was because I was an Amazon employee and they were trying to fire me before the stocks vested. So at Amazon, if you're there for 2 years, you get 2 stocks. They sell one of the stocks so that way you have the ability to vest the other one. And I discovered that they were having a round of layoffs that were coming. And I'm like, I'm just going to call in sick for these past 3 days or whatever. And I did that because I knew my time was coming. And I'm like, I just got to make it to Monday. Monday rolls around.
I'm gonna get vested.
Yeah, Monday rolls around and they're like, Matt, we've got to lay you off. Cool, before you lay me off, I need you to sign this document saying that you're letting me go on the exact day that these stocks vest, and it will not impact me getting those stocks. And they looked at me. They looked at the paper.
Like,
he didn't say it, but like I saw his mouth move, and I'm just like, I'm sitting there going, he said motherfucker. He said motherfucker.
You're like, I got him. Got him.
Checkmate, motherfucker.
Fuck you, Jeff Bezos. And that saved your life.
That saved my life, because once again, I would have been in I wouldn't have been in serious trouble, but like I would have to go to people and say, hey, money's tight. I will pay you back. I don't like being a burden on other people. I don't like being able to inconvenience them. I like being able to stand on my own and be that guy on stage and say, hey, I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that you're having a good time and roll that way. But anyway.
But that's not how the world works. So good. I mean, honestly, streetcar driver, Amazon stock owner.
Yeah. Once again, we'll probably talk again in the future, not in a podcast format, just casually chatting, but
just out of curiosity.
Out of curiosity, pick each other's brains, because once again, you and I are half brothers. We just went completely different ways, because you primarily are great at doing live streaming. You found a niche, I find, in your videos. And what I mean by that is your niche is third or first person shooters. Primarily, you've done the Warcrimes and the Call of Duty, which I'm going to casually say, holy shit, the amount of researching and effort that goes into it. And whoever your video editors, at first I thought it was just you, but as I realized, I'm like, wait, he has someone else.
Team effort, 2-man team effort. Yeah.
That 2-man team effort, that your video editor is worth that money in spades, because he understands the key aspect of visual storytelling, comprised with very good use of animation and basically bringing all of that together.
Yeah. Can I gas up Nonder for a second?
Go ahead. Gas him the fuck up.
It cannot go understated, because also, like, I've known Nonder for a number of years. Again, just like, cross-pollination of communities. Nonder also streams. So it's just like there's all this like intermixing. And I remember Nonder became my editor in the best way, which was I can't call it by accident, because it was a very intentional move on his part, but I had done a stream, and the video of the stream is still on my YouTube channel, because I still think it's actually one of the funniest things.
Was it the truck simulator one?
It was the Star Wars guessing. The truck simulator is hands down, I think, one of the funniest. Like,
I could not believe how much I laughed at that.
Yeah. Thank you. You're one of 234 people that's watched it. And I feel like everyone's missing out, because I suffered for 8 hours to make that truck driving sim video happen. But Nonder suffered for far longer to like make it a coherent video. Yes, shout out to Coleman.
Did hear Star Wars.
My friend Coleman, it was actually the one who put together this Star Wars stream. He essentially made a PowerPoint, was like, I was a Star Wars fan growing up. Mm-hmm. I was an expanded universe fan, and then Disney bought it out and everything changed. I didn't stay plugged into it, so I forgot everything. I don't know what new Star Wars characters are named. So he was, and Coleman's a big Star Wars fan. He was like, "Hey, I'm going to make a PowerPoint of X amount of characters. You're going to guess what they're named." And we just did it as a funny, silly, haha stream.
Mm-hmm.
Great thing to do on like a Saturday afternoon. And Nonder watched that stream. Nonder is also a big Star Wars fan, and said, "Wait a minute. I think I can." He's like, "Do I have your permission to take this VOD and try to cut it into something that could live on your YouTube channel?" My YouTube channel that I had completely not done anything of substance with for a long time. And I was like, you know what? Hell yeah, knock yourself out. And he took that and cut it down into like a very solid, like 40 something minute video.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, like, Nonder had like not really done much video editing up to that point. And I was like, this is great. Like, this has got just like great structure. I feel like you understand like my humor and how I like. My wife will say I'm a very like simile heavy. I'm a very idiom heavy person. Like, I tend to like describe things in a lot of ways. Like, I try to use words to make visuals.
Mm-hmm.
And that translates really well to like to helping Nonder like put these things together. So he edited the Star Wars thing, and I was like, wait a minute. How would you feel about continuing to do that? And then we made the truck sim video. And then I finally locked in on this idea about counting every war crime in Call of Duty. And this is something that up until that point, I had been thinking about for a year and a half, 2 years. at that time. Like around the time the truck sim video came out, I had been batting this idea around for a while, and I didn't know how to like strike the right tone, because like obviously like you're talking about like actual violations of international law and like really heavy shit that like happens in the real world, and then applying it to a video game which is like inherently goofy. And I wasn't sure how to like hit the right energy of what I wanted from that, because I wanted it to be a fair and like serious critique, but also like LOL, video games are funny and like weird stuff happens in this, and like how ridiculous that, you know, this is a $1 billion franchise. So I finally like sat down, played through all of the first Call of Duty, edited all of that myself, and I used that as like a template because I posted it. And here's the thing, I posted it and it did exactly as well as every other video was done on my channel, which means 200 views and that's it. And I was just like, awesome.
Yeah.
It got 200 views. Like this is like, that's a good thing. Like it performed on par with anything else that I'd ever put up. And I was like, I think this has legs. I don't think that YouTube knows who my audience is. And I don't think that I have given enough example of like, this is something that I can do. So let's do it again. Like, let's just like, I'm like, when I said in that first video, I'm like, I'm going to play every Call of Duty, I had already kind of like locked in on like, this is something that I'm going to plug away at as often and realistically as I can. Call of Duty 2 comes along, and Nodder, did you edit? Nodder edited Call of Duty 2. I like, we've only done 4, and it's already been like such a monumental amount of effort that I have forgotten like what some of our process was. But I had done Call of Duty 1, I recorded Call of Duty 2, scripted it, filmed all of that, and I said, would you be willing to give it a shot? And so thankfully he said yes, and just like ran with that, and then did the same thing with Call of Duty 3, and has done the same thing with Call of Duty 4. And I think what's really fun is you can see like just like how much he's upskilled as an editor in this time, because it's like we're both building the plane like while we fly it. Like I have like rudimentary editing experience. I know what I'm looking for. I don't always know how to like achieve it. And with his efforts, I feel like the visual language of the videos are coming together, and like we have improved our workflow so much that like things are like the videos are getting longer and they're becoming more work. And there's like, he's working on World at War right now, which I think is going to be like like that is like the pressure that I feel around World at War is substantial. It's the most requested video on the channel. There's, I think, really high expectations around it, because it's like, to me, it's like the peak of the golden era. It's also the one that has like the most blatant depictions of war crimes in it. All of them do, but like this one like is the one that like really is like, are you gonna shoot the guy who's surrendering?
Yeah.
And we're gonna give you a bad ending if you do it. So it's been crazy, but like the way that we've learned how to work together, I'm so thankful for it, because during all of this time, I've moved states. I actually just put my notice in at the job that I'm at right now. I'm going to be transitioning into another job. I got married. I bought this house with my wife. There's been a lot of life changes going on, and there's just no realistic way that I would be able to manage even like the monthly output that we've been doing without help. And if I can be so allowed to like pontificate, YouTube is an incredibly like individualistic thing, but a good editor is like what will actually like make it possible to like do stuff. Because it's like I wouldn't describe myself as like type A, but I'm also like, I have a lot of trouble delegating, and I have a lot of trouble like trusting to like hand work off to other people, especially when I find it like so closely related to like blood, sweat, and tears of like research and writing and everything that goes into it. But none of these videos would exist if I hadn't found someone that I trusted in it. And yeah. How much more can I gas up Nonder before before he leaves. Because
I'll bring up the interesting things about video editing, at least for your format, and then try to compare it to mine in a sense, because your format is very modern. And what I mean by that is, immediately when I started watching your Warcrimes videos, I was sitting there and I'm sitting there looking at it. It's like, okay, there's aspects of Super Eye Patch Wolf. There's aspects of FD Signifier, like a lot of really key prominent people that are in an edutainment sort of background.
Edutainment.
Yeah. Have this.
Can you say those names again for me? I'm literally writing them down because I've never heard of these YouTubers.
So FD Signifier and Super Eye Patch Wolf. But
thank you.
But yeah, a lot of that I find that are in the video essay format, especially with stuff that goes towards gaming content, have a very similar visual style in terms of their editing, their cuts, choices of animation, things like that. And for me, it's all really very interesting. And I was wondering if maybe Nonder might be able to fill this one in, because he's primarily the editor. But
right, he is the one who is like driving the, like, there are so many things that end up in the videos that like I had an idea for that he takes in a completely different direction. And I'm always like, I like that so much better.
So Nonder does know
like every time.
FD Signifier, but
yeah,
I find that when it comes to creative projects, whether that is me performing music with my band or me doing my solo stuff as SonicMTD doing video game reviews, I find that a lot of the things that show up in my creative art are somewhat references or parts of things that have influenced me without even realizing, because I'm just doing the thing at the time. And then when I look back in hindsight, I'm like, oh, I'm doing that, and that's from that thing. And okay. The connect, but I'm taking what they did and I'm building my own language. I'm building my own different unique spins so that it's not entirely a ripoff. It's just me taking their foundation and then making it my own, which I find in a lot of modern day videos. So I wanted to very briefly mention, the chat already is aware of this, but there might be some people that are in the chat watching this podcast, maybe my friends outside, and do not know the glory that is the truck simulator live stream, in which so I'm just very briefly going to pitch it to the people in the audience. So we're playing very basic truck simulator. You transport truck, you drive from one section of a map to another carrying freight, trying to maintain the rules of the road, speed limits, not getting pulled over by the cops, and genuinely being safe. All of this while you are hooked up to a shock device that is supposed to simulate the pain of menstrual cramps. And every single time you make a infraction or it takes you too long, you up the voltage so that way you are in more pain. And the entire time I'm sitting there going like, how are you not I would be howling in pain, and you're just like I smell burnt toast. Yeah.
I'm still hoping that video finds its audience, because like I just think it was such a good idea. I know that it doesn't fit into like what my like content has evolved into on the channel, and I think that's just like that will be like perfect like second channel fodder if I ever have the like bandwidth to do it and to do more things like that, because it was, despite suffering, it was so much fun. There was one point in that video though where we did finally hit the maximum voltage, amperage, whatever it is. Like it was, 30 out of 30, whatever the hell that means, on this like sketchy device I bought off Amazon. Shout out your stocks. And when we hit the maximum power level on it, and I don't remember how much like real time went by that I was like dealing with it at max intensity, but like it became so uncomfortable and, dare I say, painful, that I felt like real fear. Like a real primal fear. And again, like I say this in the video, and it's like it's never to like it's certainly not to undersell the experience that those with uteruses have, like as they actually like experience like menstrual cramps. This was all happening on the surface level of my body. This was not my like internal organs like shredding themselves. But like holy shit, that's crazy then, because that was an actual like sickly sweat fear-inducing moment, because it felt like the muscle fibers in my stomach were unstitching themselves. That's like the only way that I can describe like what it felt like. And I got so scared that I had to unplug it, which was like the one goal that I had for that whole stream, was to not unplug I was like, it. I should be able to deal with this. And it got so scary that I had to unplug it and take a break.
There's a reason why,
because it was just like, it was unreal.
There's a reason why some women that go through menstrual cramps are drugged or take stuff to limit the pain, because not everyone can handle that shit.
No, nor should I say this all the time. I'm like, if we've evolved to the point where we get to be in charge of everything, why does that still happen to like half of our population?
I mean,
what evolutionary advantage is it to like lose most of your blood? Yeah, like every month. Like that's crazy.
So I talk with Harriet, who I guess became the unofficial mascot of my second season of my review show. But I looked over at her, and like she's got glasses, and we're at like a Chinese restaurant. She's eating like some type of noodle soup that's fogging up her glasses. And I casually look over at her and I'm like, you know what I think is bullshit? The fact that we live in a world where we can have like conversations halfway across the country, but you still have to spend hundreds of dollars just so that you have the right to see.
Yeah.
And like, if we can't even solve that, we are cooked, chat. And I'm trying not to be a fatalist, always, but I'm been. Like, but even though we are slightly cooked, I'm glad to be simmering in the stew with you today.
Hey, mutual.
So I want to get into the brass tacks that comes with being a content creator, because we deal with different things very differently. First of all, let's start off with a softball and then go into something that's a little bit more heavy. What video that you have released so far, whether it is on stream or whether it is something that you released on your YouTube channel, that you were the most proud of or had the most fun making?
The most proud of or the most fun making? Excuse me as I open up my like YouTube studio just to like look at everything again.
So long as you're not looking at analytics.
No. We try to steer clear from analytics because it will drive you insane.
Yes.
I'm gonna have two answers. I'm gonna have two answers for you, because I think one of the videos that I had the most fun making was another live stream that turned into a video. And it's currently titled, maybe I'll change it again, maybe I'll change the thumbnail again at some point. It's currently titled, Can AI Cook Better Than a Home Chef? First off, huge AI hater, right? I think that's a genuine feeling for like most people, especially at this point. Doesn't feel controversial. Apparently it is. But what made this so fun is my good friend Swordbear, who's in the chat, came to mine and my wife's apartment before we moved back to where we're living now. And he has had this long running show. I completely, to coin kind of like what you were referencing earlier about like taking influence from like other creators and things like that. Ludwig Ahlgren calls it the Yoink and Twist.
Okay.
Sorger has done a beautiful Yoink and Twist where he regularly on his streams does what he calls Chopped with Chat. So take the classic Food Network show, it's Chopped, where you get a basket of random ingredients and you have to make something that is like somewhat palatable within those parameters, right? He's done that. He's done Chopped with Chat for a long time, and it's a great concept. And essentially it means that his chat submits the ingredients. Those ingredients are then chosen at semi-random through Marbles on Stream. He then has to acquire those ingredients and then make something with what he's given. We joined forces. He came up to visit, and we decided to do a head-to-head Chopped with Chat using the same ingredients that were chosen. It was, and these are his words, the worst suite of ingredients that he's ever been rolled on a Chopped with Chat, and then simultaneously we both made the worst things he's ever eaten on Chopped with Chat. I am a good cook. This video would not prove that, because we had like 5 protein. We had chicken livers, chicken, sunchokes, pickled herring. There was just bad shit. It was a lot of bad stuff.
Bad idea.
God.
And when he got the like list of everything, he was like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? So he just took the list of ingredients, gave it to Chat GPT, and said, make me something edible out of this, which it fucking failed at, because of course it did. But he, comes to my apartment. I have all of the food. And we cooked this meal, and he followed what the AI told him to do. And then I tried to like make my own spin on it. So we did like the classic, like John Henry, like man versus machine, except the man still had to make what Chat GPT said, because Chat GPT can't do anything itself. And yeah, it was 2 of the most heinous things. My apartment smelled insane. But it was truly some of the most fun that I think I've ever had with a stream. And then the video that Nader cut together from that was also just like, I think, great. It was one of my like first lessons in like crafting like a good YouTube intro, in my opinion. I think I've gotten better at it, but it was like my first like, oh my God, I wrote a hook. So there's a lot of things about that that I take a lot of pride in. So that was like the most fun that I've had. The one that I think I'm the most proud of at this point is like, I still think it's another kind of like unsung. And my wife was there. God, she's like, oh, so you hate me? This is another classic bit in our house. My wife was also there, and she helped. Poor thing. My poor chronically nauseous wife had to like live in this apartment while we made everything and then try everything with us. That's not what I'm saying. What are you saying? Anyways, whatever. The other video, she's gonna be so mad at me. The other video that I'm very proud of, that
she's gonna walk in behind you and suck you upside the head.
She might. I'm waiting to hear her feet on the stairs. The other video that I'm proud of, that I think is still a little underrated, but has a little bit more chance, because it's like it's like within my new niche that I've made, is the how devastating was the nuclear bomb in Call of Duty 4 video. Just because that was a much like shorter thing, and the research was not easier, and the topic certainly was not easier, but like that one bore itself out of the work that I was doing on the main Warcrimes series. And I think being inspired from the research that I was doing and being like, oh my gosh, this is a whole nother thing that I can do, and then making it happen is really fulfilling. And now I've got 2 other not similar, but like not dissimilar spin-off videos coming, that are kind of like bearing themselves out of all of the work that goes into like the mainline Warcrimes series. And I'm really proud of that one, because it's just like a quick 8-minute hit. I think the research is really good. I make one flub in there that I'm annoyed about how air bursts make more like nuclear fallout, which isn't true. Ground bursts do, whatever. So like, there's still like imperfections in it, but I think just like the core point of the video, and it's such a quick hit and like delivers on everything that I set out to do in it, is great. And to talk about like inspiration, you mentioned like Super Eye Patch Wolf and FD Signifier. Swordbear and I have talked about this a lot recently, where I feel like my North Star, as far as like, people that I'm the most influenced by right now, I think it probably goes without saying, just because it's like I'm another like white guy holding a microphone standing in front of a green screen. Eddie Austin is like his like suddenly very rapid rise to like, gold YouTube plaque, and like the things that he chooses to talk about and the way that he talks about it and makes it interesting, I think is so compelling. I'm not any Austin, and I'm also not trying to be any Austin. I think his niche is very well carved out, but I think stylistically and like just the general idea of like, I'm going to do a deep dive on something that nobody asked for, has been really eye-opening. And I think it's helping inform a lot of my work, even though I think that like my writing is different and my research is different. But I actually recently listened to a podcast where he was talking about his workflow, because like all these big YouTubers, I feel like exist in like a black box. Like it's so hard to understand like what they're doing that is like working and like how they're even making it happen. And I mean, of course, like lots of them have teams of like, 5, 10, 15 people. But something that he said just from like a writing perspective that I found really interesting and that I've sort of like just naturalistically fallen into because of my own interests, is he's like, I make gaming videos, but my videos are 40% game, 60% other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, as a person who has like a lot of interests, that works because I'm like gaming gets people in the door. The game gets people in the door.
Yep.
But like I want to talk about historical context. I want to talk about like legal parameters around like what's happening here. I want to yap on about my own specific brand of worldview and how that applies to my interpretation of those facts that I've taken in.
Mm.
And I don't know, apparently it's going okay. It's like
I find that as someone who watches YouTube, for me, it's usually the hook that draws me in, like whatever clickbaity title or subject matter, and I'm like, okay, let's see what this is, and I'll enjoy the video. But what eventually happens is sort of like that relationship where you're not necessarily watching because of the content, you're watching because of the personality that's there. And you kind of have this sort of like pseudo relationship with someone who doesn't even know you fucking exist, but you have
with
it on
the idea of this person.
Yeah,
like, you're my show. Like I've been getting comments recently where it's just like, oh my gosh, my show is on.
Mm.
And then my head grows 10 times the size that it already was. I'm like, to enter the space where it's like I've become part of someone's routine is fucking insane. And I am just a guy. I go to a normal job every day, but like someone is like waiting for me to upload a video the next time. And like, yeah, it's like that parasocial thing. And it goes both ways.
Yeah.
It's just like, I have a guy who every time I post a video, he's like, holy shit, Spooky posted again. I'm making a chicken sandwich. I'm going to watch this video. I look for his comments.
Yep.
Shout out that guy. I don't remember his username, but shout out that guy. It's been every video. And that's just like, I don't know. There's just something that is so internet era about that whole thing. And yeah, to Ursa's point, it's funny. We've been talking so much about how I live stream and like, yeah, I've been on like giga hiatus. I haven't this is like the first like real live stream I've done other than something that we're probably going to talk about later on in the show.
Well, first of all, I'm honored to have you.
If I can segue.
Yep.
If I can say something like
segue, Raph. Yeah.
Well, yeah. If I can just say something, it's like when you were talking about, being part of someone's, I guess their normal, daily routine, essentially. In this case, monthly routine. Whenever a video comes out.
Right. Yeah. Rip me.
Yeah. For me, I think. Yes. Because I think I came and saw your first video when it first came out, the first Warcrime video, and I believe that was recommended when I was watching some sort, I think, Red Dead Redemption 2 video essay or something, and it was just weird how I just got recommended. I was like, and I looked at it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a shot. All right. So I watched that.
For doing that.
I was like, I watched it and I was like, okay, there were some good things. There were some things that made me mildly angered.
Yes.
Enough
to find my Discord. Yeah.
No.
Hey, Alan, welcome to the chat.
Because I was really extremely mildly angry at you. But, and then, I think it was like at 3 days later, you uploaded your second video. I was like, okay, still mildly angered because of certain things. And then, of course, your third video, I was like, oh shit, yeah, I want to see what he had to say on, not only about, whatever possible war crimes are here, Shotgun, my guy.
Watch to the end,
but, yep. And then I was like, okay, so yeah, and then you started making fun of the point that, every time you're in one of those quick time events in Melee, your guys are just off in the corner, just like, so
just chilling.
I got 5 on our guy winning, but what about you? Oh, I got like 20 on the
your
German
whole squad's
winning.
on Kulfi being like, You think he's got it? Yeah. You think he knows how to
You got it? Should we jump in? Should we do it? No?
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, when you dropped your Call of Duty 4 video, well, not that one, but the nuclear one.
Mm-hmm.
What I found was very interesting, because I was like, should it be counted as a war crime? That was the main question that was running through my head while I was watching your videos. Just like, should this be counted as a war crime? Because even though the guy that set it off took over his nation and got his hands on a nuclear bomb, it's still recognized as a country. He is running the country at that point, even though he's committing war crimes to run the country. He is the leader of that country. Therefore, when he uses a nuclear weapon in defense of, his country, whether good or bad, if someone invades, you still have the right to defend yourself, regardless of why they're invading.
Of like what the circumstances that brought us to that point. Right.
Yes. And so, therefore, using a nuclear weapon, granted in the middle of a highly populated civilian center, does it still count as a war crime if it's being used in a conventional way? That was the real question I wanted to be answered, like yes or no.
I'll answer this question because my favorite video game actually starts off with this. My favorite video game is a game called Ace Combat 5: The Unsung War, which takes place 15... Yep, that's my shiz.
Yep.
And it starts 15 years after Belka activates 2 nuclear warheads on their own soil because they didn't want the invading army to lose. They're like, we're going to wipe everything out in a blaze of glory. And I'm like, no, that's still a war crime. What you did was awful. You did it on your own people. And I understand it's like, cool, down to the last man, but there is a time and there is a place, and that did not fucking work. That is a war crime, my friend. We are not...
Did not meet the qualifications.
If Belka did it in Ace Combat, it is a war crime.
Yes. And Ace Combat is my favorite anime. Yeah, it's super underrated series. I've gotten some requests to do Ace Combat as a spinoff at some point in the future. I need to figure out how to do that because I love those games.
There's a lot. I did Ace Combat 5, which was supposed to be my swan song. It was supposed to be me saying, okay, I'm done with YouTube. This is the game that's influenced me. And when I put that out, there was an overwhelming amount of love and support that came my way that I wasn't getting. Because when I did my series, I had just I just dealt with a breakup, and I'm like, okay, I'm unstable. I'll go to therapy as soon as I finish the first season, and then I'll be fine. And then they're like, hey, this was really good. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'm glad you like it. I'll get started on the second season. First, therapy.
Yes. Thank you for the little bit of dopamine and serotonin to get me in the door at a therapist. Yeah, it's just like you need that sometimes.
But I will...
Yeah, Ace Combat.
Yeah.
But I do have an actual question. It's like, what during up until now, what was your most, I guess, controversial opinion that people literally either jokingly or half-heartedly angered by, or straight up like typing a complete freaking book in the freaking comments of what you said is a war crime, but in their eyes it's not?
Oh, well, yeah. Nonder's giving me a much, what's the word? More marketable answer, which is so funny as like a marketing person. I'm like, yeah, right. The Tiger tanks. Yeah. Anytime I've misidentified tanks in like every single, like to the point where like we have, like, here's a spoiler. I have a joke in World at War where I'm like, I'm not even going to try to guess what this Japanese tank is called because I guarantee I'm going to get it wrong. I need you all to know, in the Call of Duty 4 video, I did specifically so much research during All Gillied Up where the Russian BMPs are like driving past you and you're like cosplaying as a bush, hoping not to get squished by them. And I was like, this is a BMP3. And I spent a lot of time making sure that it wasn't a BMP2 or a BMP1. And regardless, I end up with a multitude of comments being like, actually, it's a BMP J3T, you can tell because the hubcaps on the wheels were slightly smaller, and it has this turret instead of this turret, and like you can see that the rivets on the. And I'm like, you know what? Good for the people modeling this shit that someone can tell the difference. I need War Thunder to sponsor my channel so badly so that I have an excuse to go onto the forums to find leaked government documents so I can figure out what the hell I'm looking at any given point. Hello, MRSA. The
also thank you for the subscribe, Arc.
Oh hell yeah, Arc. That we'll call that my softball answer. The real answer to that is like I think literally from the first Call of Duty Warcrime video, I make like the slightest, like this is like a 3-second cutaway gag where I'm like, oh yeah, you know, blowing up hospitals is a war crime, and I have Benjamin Netanyahu's face pop up for like 2 seconds.
Yep.
A lot of people self-selected themselves out of my channel in the process of this whole thing. I will remain critical and unabashedly so of what is going on in Gaza and against Palestinians. And I'm not sorry about it. You know, it's just like, and that's like kind of it's one of many reasons as to why I've like wanted to make the series, because it's just like, there's no easy door into like talking about this in a way that's like, hey, see this situation that we're painting as incredibly problematic? Mm-hmm. What if I told you that the real world analog is spending most of the money that you pay in taxes?
Hey, I'm the same way. It's like, hey, first time, all right, it's an accident. Second time, someone's being stupid. Third, fourth, fifth time, you're doing it intentionally.
Yeah.
Right. To the gulag.
Yep.
You know, it's just like,
yes.
Yeah. And it's just like, and I think like, and one of the cool things, which is such a weird thing to like come off, but like one of the cool things like coming out of this is like, as I've gotten more feedback on the series, I realized like the audience has kind of told me like what is desired out of it. Like, I think in the early episodes, I was like a lot more flippant and like kind of like much to my like own chagrin and cringe, like kind of cinema sinsing Call of Duty in a way that I don't love. But it's because I had my own insecurities making it of like, you know, I have no feedback as to like what people actually want, where there's actually like, there has been a lot more room for nuance, and there's been a lot more room to like, you know, take time. Like I don't have to, I feel like I'm at the point even now where it's like, I don't need to worry about retention as much. It's just like, I'm at liberty to spend more time talking about like the context behind things and like what's informed things. And I think like one of my first like big dips into that was in the Call of Duty 4 video, kind of like, you know, I talk about the Ottawa Treaty for a very long time. I didn't even know what the Ottawa Treaty was before I like started researching for these videos and like learning like who banned landmines and who didn't and why did they do it. Oh my God, and like being able to like talk about that kind of stuff is it's so cool. And to know that like the people that are watching are like, we want more of that specifically and less of, you know, wrath credit, you know, of people being like, don't count tank cannon kills as war crimes. That's legal.
Mm. Yeah,
because you find it distasteful, you know, just because you find it distasteful, which yes, of course it is, doesn't mean like you are doing yourself a disservice. Like that's the feedback I got. They're like, you are doing yourself and this series a disservice by counting those specifically in this way, because you are muddying the waters as to like what actually constitutes like a real crime and like, you know, what is just a horror of war. And like there is space for me to talk about both without like necessarily pointing the finger and putting a number on the board in the same way, which I'm just like, that's not, you got a call she ad. That's funny.
Yeah, because when you brought up the you know, the tanks and how every single shot was essentially you know, another tally mark onto, you know, the kill count essentially, like part of my eye twitched and I was like, this guy does not know
what he's talking about. Yeah.
So I'll casually answer this the best way I know how, not only just being a content creator on YouTube, but I heard there's a guy on Instagram called Matt Bacon. He gives advice for people in the music industry. And he said on a particular video that perfect is the enemy of finished. And there comes a point where you're just sitting there going, look, if I'm trying to go for perfection every damn time, it's not going to get out the door. Now, I need to preface this. You can try to get as close as you possibly can to perfect, but it will never be 100% perfect. At the end of the day, you want to make sure that you are creating something that you enjoy, that you tried your best at, that you know that you made mistakes, and the fact that you know that you've made those mistakes, you can prevent them from happening the next time.
Titty sprinkles.
Titty sprinkles. Thanks, Wrath.
Yeah. and to cap that off, no, I agree with that completely. And I think that's been a big thing that I've been trying to work on. I wrote in chat, I was like, 80% is better than good. And you know what's better than good? Releasing the video. This is something that I talk about with like my peers who are in content creation, like Swordbear's weighing in perfectly in all caps. Like, how do I stop? How do I stop tweaking and editing and trying to make it that much better? It's just like, it doesn't matter how good it is if it's not out.
There eventually comes a point.
You are. No,
you finish.
Say it, but it's just like you are making a product. At the end of the day,
you gotta,
like if you are making music, you are making art, you're making a video, you are making something by design that is for someone else's consumption. It does not reach its final form until someone other than your eyeballs, who have spent way too much time on the timeline, consumes it. I don't care if one person watches it or 100,000 people watch it. It's not done until it's in front of whoever that audience is. And its true value does not begin to like take shape until it's in front of the people that you made it for.
And I do want to casually mention as well, because oftentimes, at least with me, I used to get lost in the analytics. Like, I would be putting stuff out, but then if I would look at it and I'd say, okay, this video that I put out in like, I don't know, 2012, if it doesn't get 100 views within a month, then that video was a failure. And then that I would bring down the joy of just creating, because I would put these arbitrary barriers and milestones that I need to hit, when at the end of the day, it's like, no, you don't understand. You're doing this because you enjoy doing it. You're doing this because the idea has been in your head for months, if not years. And if you do not get it out, it will consume you.
Like when you release a video and it does well, and I mean, and it does very well, you gotta ride that wave. You can't just, all right, so that video was like maybe 80% or like say 60 or 70% professional, while the rest was just, throwing things at the wall, but everyone likes it. So and then you say, all right, so you know what? I'm gonna go 100% professional. And instead of the video being out, say, next month, it's now 7 months later, and
everyone's lost interest.
Yeah.
Either everyone has lost interest, forgot about it, and that video only gets like, say, 200 views.
Yeah.
So there's like,
yeah. Can I talk about some like inside Spooky's brain baseball?
Absolutely. Let's play ball, motherfucker.
Do it.
Let's play ball, because I think like I'm in an interesting spot with like how my channel is performing. And it's just like, I'm not blind to it, but like to give like a timeline of how this worked. I released Call of Duty 1 Warcrimes. It got 200-300 views and would get like, a view a week or whatever, very like incremental, not really like moving the needle on anything. We released Call of Duty 2. Same thing. It releases, it gets like 200 views kind of right away, gets some incremental interest. Nothing really crazy is happening. Some life changes happen. Call of Duty 3 is delayed for a little bit. I decide to start making YouTube shorts, my arch nemesis, out of just like segments from Call of Duty 1 and Call of Duty 2, because I'm just like, whatever. It's just it's better than nothing. Like I'm trying to like basically keep the channel on life support. Like uploads are happening. YouTube, I'm still alive. I'm still here.
Yeah.
One of those shorts, you can't even say it goes viral, because like a viral YouTube short is like millions of views.
Yeah.
But it gets, let's say 70,000 views. Suddenly traffic starts upticking on the other videos. And now we're kind of like where we're at, like Call of Duty 4 is released. It's currently sitting at, I don't know, I think 180,000 views. Call of Duty 2 and 3 are both around 70,000, and Call of Duty 1 is at like 125,000, something like that.
128K.
Perfect. Thank you, Wrath. An incredible amount of success, and incredibly like obviously measurable. Is like, this is like each video has done very, very well. I, for my entire time on YouTube, have been like a 500 view Andy. And when we were getting ready to release Call of Duty 4, obviously I had the numbers and the metrics of like Call of Duty 1 had just broken 100K. And 2 and 3 were both 30, 40, 50,000, something at the time, like when Call of Duty 4 was going to drop. Truly, and I mean this so genuinely, like I mean this so genuinely. My expectation for Call of Duty 4 was 500 views.
Yeah.
I didn't think that it was an unrealistic floor or ceiling. It is, in my mind, still what constitutes a good performing video on my channel. Because I'm like, I don't know if a flash in the pan is happening. I don't know what's going on with how all of this is going. Obviously, it annihilated those expectations, but I think the reality is like, I think when a drip feed of success starts to happen, I don't want to make that number of expectation bigger in my head, because then it starts to conflate things in a different way. I am incredibly proud of what the output on the channel has been. There's no question about that. Me thinking like, oh, it's only going to get 500 views is not a like damnation of what I think the quality of the video is, because again, still what I think was one of the funniest videos on the channel is 235 views, but like trying to keep those expectations managed when you're like having a moment and you're having like a growth moment is a strange space to occupy. And I don't think that the human brain is like actually designed to like deal with like any, like the capacity of any of these numbers. But for my own sanity and for my like own like ability to like navigate my life, because again, like every day I wake up and I have to go to normal job because normal job pay bill. And while the videos are doing very, very well, and I'm incredibly grateful for like the money that is also coming in from those, because yes, they're monetized, I can't let myself rely on that. And as badly as I want to and have dreamed and want to dream and want to chase a dream about like, it's just like, for the first time in my life, I mean, for years and years, people would be like, hey, if you could do this full time, would you? I would say no, because I'm risk adverse. And I'm like, I care more about the like consistency and stability for my family. But the reality is like, I can't bank on this until it's already like a proven factor.
Yeah.
So why would I torture myself more than I already do as like a not completely neurotypical person? Like, why would I torture myself more with like the opportunity of like future success, instead of just being like, if it gets this, I will be happy.
I think
everything I have made is like this amount of views. Can I let myself just be happy with that and be proud of like the thing that I have made, and then go,
I think that's a very healthy way of looking at things. I, once again, have a very opposite take compared to you, but we have, once again, completely different outlooks in situations like that. I graduated college roughly around the same time as the subprime housing mortgage collapse. When
I graduated high school. Let's go. It's a perfect world.
Yeah.
Everything is working as intended. Yeah.
So I graduated in that giant economic uncertainty. And I remember my college professors looking at me when I was in journalism and saying, hey, out of your entire class, maybe 8% of you actually get jobs in this field. And I didn't think about it at the time. When I graduated, I'm like, I have no stability. I have no consistency. I have no idea what the hell is going to happen. And I remember going back to my therapist, I think it was like maybe about 4 months ago, and I was telling them about like how I have no stability or consistency, and they looked at me and said, so what you mean to say you have nothing? So if it feels like your job could fire you at any given moment, the world can swallow you up. And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. And they said, simple. If the world feels like there is no stability and the only future you have is gambling, I really hate to say it, Matthew, but you're going to have to gamble away. And I'm like, I'm sorry, are you actually recommending that I chase a pipe dream of being a YouTube content creator and singing in a rock and roll band? And they said, I'm afraid so. And I'm like, this is not the type of stuff
honestly,
that
good therapist. I had a really good therapist when I lived in the other state that I lived in. And yeah, they had the same sort of like, fuck it, we ball mentality.
Yeah.
And I was like, how helpful to have a licensed professional be like, yeah, shit's cooked. Probably do something cool while we can.
Yeah.
It's not bad advice. I mean, it's like, obviously like there's other factors that like go into everything, but it's just like, literally fucking why not? Like this year has been the closest ever that I've just been like, you know what? If the right opportunity came along, I would drop the like traditional job to just like have like a taste of the freedom that we deserve. Like we should all at the end of the day technically be picking berries and like throwing rocks at mammoths. Like I shouldn't know what an email is. I shouldn't have to worry about like, you know, what the fuck a tariff is or what an interest rate is going to do to my financial future. I shouldn't have to navigate my healthcare system. I'd much rather be annexed by you and navigate your healthcare system. You know, it's just like, but like, I don't want to think about any of that. I should be hunting and gathering and or reaping and sowing.
So I should
be looking at clouds and making cave paintings. Like we're just,
so you come from the background of improv. The best way to describe my mentality is I am essentially yes-anding my way through life right about now.
My man. And like
when an opportunity shows up my way, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, we ball. And that's how I ended up meeting you, because like Wrath, who I met through another Discord, is just like, hey, I want to get involved in podcasts. And I'm like, you sure? I have no idea who you are. Let's fucking go. And he's like, I know this guy. I know this guy called Spooky. How about it? Sure, why not? And then it's like, hey, Matt, have you ever been to America before? No? Well, a buddy of mine just broke his leg. We got a ticket for Megfest. You're a musician. You want to go to Maryland and like start performing live at this giant festival for musicians and gamers? And I'm like, fuck yeah, here's my passport. Let's go. Why not? I've got nothing. Right. Pack my bags. We'll head into the town. And I will.
But it's like, that's how like memories are made, right? I mean, it's just like, what's the point of doing any of it? Unless.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the best thing for my mental health and for my understanding of the world around me is travel. And the reason why is because when you are not familiar with a culture, you're not familiar with a certain group of people, you will start believing the stereotypes because you have no exposure to them. And as someone who grew up during the Bush administration and played American Idiot on repeat until the CD player stopped playing, I had a horrible view of Americans. And then I actually went to Megfest and I met some of the nicest, down-to-earth, salt-of-the-earth people that I have, and to the point where it's like, I'm sitting there going, you are nicer than Canadians, because we seem polite on the surface, but then the moment the backs are turned, we're talking smack behind your back. That's the unfortunate side, but like being able to learn and grow and expand your horizons and change who you are just by, looking at it going, you know what, this is outside of my comfort zone. I don't know what's going to happen, but fuck it, let's go. Let's see where the dice will take me, where all of that is going. I do want to casually ask as well, because we're both in the content creator space. I mentioned my stuff involving my therapist. How do you deal with burnout and any type of mental health? Because that is something that does, it does dominate the creator space. And it's something that you describe it to another person, unless they're a content creator, they don't really get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a really interesting thing. And it's just like, I'm not trying to do like I'm not like other girls sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that like my burnout has always formulated from like the real world, quote unquote. Like this like internet space and like content creation has become very much like the safe space for me. Content creation is how I met my wife. Content creation is how I met like all of my like closest friends in adulthood. Content creation is like where I can laugh and I can have fun and I can feel kind of like unburdened to like speak about the things that you have to often mask in a professional environment and setting. There is the authentic spooky that is in front of you right now, and then there is also a version that I call corporate spooky, that is slowly, not even slowly anymore, is rapidly crumbling. And I have experienced burnout like distinctly measurably noticeable to my like friends and loved ones. Probably 4 or 5 times in my like adult life. One was incredibly recently. And it's just been interesting because I get so frustrated when burnout is happening because it's never content that I'm burning out on. It's content that's like tethering me to like, I'm like for a long time, like, and again, like I'm on hiatus right now because I'm like trying to focus on YouTube because it's like it's moving it away. But like consistently for 5 years, I streamed 2 days a week every week, with like some breaks for like vacations, whatever, moves, life changes, whatever. But like those 2 streams a week were like my anchor a lot of the times, because it's like that was my time where it's just like I'm fully in control of what happens next. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to have stories to tell. I'm going to have people to talk to. It was a very like healthy space. And it was something that like my therapist like recognized. Like I talked to them. I was like, I'm like, it feels ridiculous to like sit down in front of your therapist and be like, I sit in a room and I have, 20 or 30 people in there with me every night. And it's the best part of my week. But it genuinely was like, there, like I've talked to friends who stream and make videos, and like I think because we get so in our heads about like the pressure of like, am I putting on a good show? Are the numbers doing what I'm needing them to? Am I like, is it at least like self-sustaining itself? Whatever it might be, it steals the joy of it. And I'm just as guilty of that sometimes. Like I'm not saying like I'm completely absolved of like not putting pressure on like trying to like do a good job with whatever this is, but like so often I was like, regardless of all that, regardless of all the pressures that I'm putting on myself and this like need to be productive and this need to be successful and this like want to like watch number get bigger, at the end of the day, this is still way more fun than what I just did for 8 hours leading up to it. And way more me and way more just like real and true to like some semblance of like who I see myself and who I want to be. So very, very rarely have I felt any sort of like true friction or burnout when it comes to content creation, but that does not mean that burnout has not had massive knock-on effects on my ability to do the thing that I actually want to do. And that frustration and like those pain points are so hard to reconcile. And even right now, so it's just like, so I'm the job that I have right now, I'm leaving. I put my notice in today. and this job is like the reason like I had to go on hiatus from streaming and everything, because I went from almost full remote work to fully in-person work. Believe it or not, commutes are stupid.
Yes.
And like that is a huge drain. And then like sitting in an office for so many hours a day is a huge drain. And it's just like you get home and it's just like I want to spend time with my wife, and I want to like, you know, I have to like take my dogs out, and I have to like feed my cats, and I have to like cook dinner. And by the time all that happens, you know, it's 7:30. When I was working from home, I'd be starting my stream an hour before that. You know, it's just like I get up at like 5:55, 6 o'clock in the morning to drive into work. I'm just like, there's no hours in the day. There's no time to like do what to do what I care about. And when videos are also working so well, and like everything like that is going so well, and I have the flexibility to make that time, it was like I had to like rob Peter to pay Paul, right? Where I was like, I want to keep streaming. I love streaming. However, from a nuts and bolts perspective of like my energy and my priorities, and frankly, like what is like self-sustaining itself, it's like I have to do YouTube. I have to make the videos. Like Wrath said, it's like there is momentum. You have to chase that momentum. Streaming is a safe space for me, but it was never like I was never paying a bill with streaming. I was incredibly fortunate. Like basically the entire time that I've been monetized, like on Twitch, you know, there was like I was getting a payout. You know, Jeff Bezos was cutting me a check, never for much, but like enough to be like, you know, that sort of justified my time. You know, I made $3 an hour this month, right? Put me in the coal mines, and I still want to go back to it. And I still see it as like, you know, it's like it's been so wrapped up in my identity for so long that I've actually been having a hard time. And this is something I've been talking with Nader about a lot. I've been a streamer for like longer than I've ever stayed in any like professional job.
Yeah. That's to be expected.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's really fucking so weird to say that, but that is the norm. And it's like, it's odd.
It's weird. It's just like I've played video games for strangers on the internet for longer than I've ever held like one job consistently. And it's like, and I love that. But there's just not enough time. So I don't know. It's been a really, it's been a hard, like, past couple of weeks, I think, especially as I've like announced the hiatus. And then of course, you know, I feel like we're just edging to like, you know, how I've destroyed my YouTube channel with like my most recent upload and you know, with all of the current events going on. But it's just like, that's been really difficult. Like I've never burnt out from content creation, but like, God help me if the rest of the world hasn't been trying to kick me in the teeth every step along the way.
So
right?
I'll casually bring this up because this is showing my age on YouTube. We're both the same age in real life, but when I give people a passage of time to when I started YouTube, it was after Nostalgia Critic and Yahtzee, but before JonTron. So I was right before JonTron started. But there was a brief period of time where me and the girl that I was dating at the time were being considered for Channel Awesome, which was this giant website review streaming thing. And we had sent in our application that was selected. We like what you're doing. We're going to shortlist you. You know, we're going to take that in a small group of people, and then a batch of those people will then get selected as part of the new hires, the new content creators. And both me and her were absolutely jumping for joy. We're sitting there going, this could be our big break. This could be our chance to actually grow and have a thing. But as we finished the process, I'm going to let you know that Channel Awesome, you're going to have to put out content consistently. And I was looking at it going, well, how much is the consistently thing? Because, you know, I just graduated from college. I don't have any income coming in. What exactly are we dealing with here? And I was basically doing the number crunching, and I'm like, the amount of effort and time that it would take, we would basically be spending months, if not years, writing, editing over top of the computer. We'd go in and do our day jobs. We'd sit over top of our laptop, basically eating dinner and recording. And I'm sitting there looking at that going, that is going to destroy us. When things happened, it's just like, I can't consistently put things out on this grindstone pace where I'm going to basically be destroyed and turned to nothing. I need to take a break. I need to be able to focus on my mental health and then jump in. And it's hard to shut off that part of your brain because the only thing that's going through my mind right now is you need to finish doing the audio for that ACA 13 district review with Harriet. And then after you've done that, you have a video on why Yakuza 0 is really shit for capitalism. And then you also have another video about how Unbeatable is a flawed gem, but it is still a really good gem that's hard for me to recommend to other people because you have to get to the 7/8 of the game before the story actually makes any goddamn sense. And you're sort of sitting there going like, all these ideas are swirling in my head, but I know that if I race to try to get everything done, I'm going to get so burnt out that I don't want anything to do with it. And I'm like, I can't do that. I need to take time, focus on me, get back to doing what I need to do. And the video will come out when it comes out. There will be people afterwards that will like it. Maybe not as much as the algorithm that we're all slaves to will be. Because that's the major thing, right? It's not that the content that we make is bad. It's that we are slaves to an algorithm that wants us to put out stuff more and more and more and more and more. So that way, then it can boost you to all these other people. And I'm just sitting there going...
It's like the bottomless beast of like... all the like YouTube gurus are like, upload once a week. And I'm like, I would eat a gun. Once a week? It's like, yeah, sure. I'd probably be so successful. I wouldn't have time to breathe to know that I was.
So I'm going
to,
I'm going to very briefly mention, because once again, I have a very interesting and unique history. I worked on the set of Mr. Beast's Beast Games when it was filming in Canada.
No fucking way.
Yes, absolutely. That was
your lore is insane.
I know, man. Every time he says, "Oh, I've been done this," I'm like, "Are you for real? Are you bullshitting me right now?" I refuse to believe this Canadian is like rubbing elbows with such
royalty. The only thing that hasn't happened is money. That is the only thing.
I was like, and like the worst part of all of it is just like been flat broke the whole time. Yeah,
pretty much. It's been consistently that. But I was on set for the Canadian production of Mr. Beast Games. They filmed a lot of it in the United States, and then for some weird reason they decided to go into Canada. And they had a warehouse that was out in North York, and it was a union thing. So he would hire, union people on set, carpenters, laborers, things like that. So we were all getting paid by the board, by industry standards, like $21 an hour. Our lunches were being taken care of. But there were a couple times where throughout the production, people were just sitting there going, he hasn't gone home yet. And I'm like, who hasn't gone home? Jimmy.
Mr. Beast. Yeah.
What do you mean? Yeah. What do you mean he hasn't gone home yet? Well, some of the shoots go into the night, and I'm like, okay, yeah, there's a night crew. That makes sense. He sleeps on set.
Yeah.
And he doesn't go home. And I'm like sitting there looking at it going, there's something fundamentally broken in getting about that. And it is unfortunately a product of what our industry is and the grind and the sacrifice that goes into it. And I'm just sitting there looking at it going like, bitch, I'm standing here with a hard hat with a Digivice sticker across the front of it. I am not built for that kind of shit.
Right, you're like, and the craziest thing is like you're probably happier than he is.
I was. At the time I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean it's just like here's the deal. Proud fact, never watched a single Mr. Beast video.
Same.
He gives me the heebie-jeebies, and I don't even mean that necessarily in like I don't want to hate on him. He makes me incredibly sad. just like because like I've watched stuff about him, I've watched interviews with him, but they have not been Mr. Beast videos.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, yeah, there is something fundamentally broken about the like the system that he has like dedicated himself to. And
So
I'm just like, I'm like, call me crazy, but it's just like I want to have my cake and eat it too. It's just like I would like to build like a semi-successful channel that allows me to also still live a like human life.
yeah, you want to be able to settle down with your wife. You want to be able to have really good interpersonal connections and friendships and not worry about losing that. Everybody wants to, you know, a job that they love doing.
Yes.
A great romantic
that lets
life.
them also do the stuff that the job funds. Like,
yes.
I want to like live a life. Yeah.
They're out there when it comes to content creation. There are two different, you know, there's a giant rope, and on one end you have Mr. Beast. On the other hand, you have the Paul brothers. And somewhere, because they're both very different aspects, but they're both seriously mentally destroyed people.
Unwell.
But somewhere
like,
in the center of that are the content creators that found a way to do it and get it done right. I'm talking like your Philip DeFranco's. I'm talking, my God, I'm blanking. The guys from Red Letter Media. Like just
the Green Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People that are mentally healthy and found a way to make it work. You know what? We don't need all the money in the world, but we are creating content that makes us happy and gives us that sort of a life that we very desperately want that balance for. I'm going to ask because how are we doing for time? We're
doing okay for time. Yeah, I'd say I've got mentally budgeted like another 45 at least. So well, again, I low key kind of quit my job today. There is a chance that they just like don't ask me back. But I am still planning on waking up at 6 a.m. tomorrow and driving into the office. So
I've still got about, for me, my internal clock. So my job is a delivery driver and I hate it.
Sure.
But I'm actually pretty good in terms of time. But why don't we save some, because I can pick your brain for hours and hours and hours.
Oh, for sure. And I'd love to continue any sort of conversation. Like I love this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the thing that connects both of us. And that is video games.
Yeah.
First of all, what made you want to focus entirely on video games? Because I noticed that you focus on, you know, your first person shooters, basically war, things like that. But what made you want to get into the space, and what games do you prefer playing? And are there any games are there any new games that you're just sitting there going like, oh my God, I'm really enjoying this time, or I can't believe that this is out type of situation?
Yeah. That's a really interesting question. It's so funny because it's like one of the weird things that's happened to me as I've like become like niched in with like my YouTube channel is just this like, why aren't you playing a shooter game? It's just like, I love like survival crafting games and I love like shitty simulator games. And it's just like, I have a whole like variety of things that I really enjoy, that I enjoy playing. Call of Duty hits like a nostalgic point for me because it's like growing up, like, yeah, you always had a Call of Duty game. And like, I have a lot of like really fond memories of like, of playing like split screen specifically against bots, like with my buddies, just like sitting on like the couch and like, you know, screaming and hooting and hollering and doing all sorts of like silly stuff. So it's like, there's like a nostalgic angle, especially to like the era of Call of Duty that I'm in right now. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's just like up until like the recent releases, it's like I've kind of always been like a secret little slut for Call of Duty. It's just like I never have that much fun with it, but I always end up owning the most recent release because it's
part of the job. Yeah.
It's just part of the job. Yeah, but it's funny because it's like for the years that I've been making content, I like never really played Call of Duty like on stream, and it was never like really a focus for me. I mean, I'm sure there's some like old footage of me playing Warzone or whatever, but it's just like it was never a focus. For me, gaming has always been, I guess, I'm an only child, so
same.
It was a really right. So it's just like it was an easy way to like kind of like engage with something as if someone else was there. It was a really, I'm a big movie guy as well. And I think like feeling like you're in control of like what's happening is like really freeing and like really, really cool. I'm a very like traditional game player. Like, my wife and I have been watching a lot of like Ambiguous Amphibian, and I'm just like, my brain doesn't work like his does. Like like people who play games to like break them and to like push the limits. It's like, that's not me.
No.
I kind of play games like within the boundaries that they set for me. And I think the thing that I'm always yearning for is this like very like ephemeral immersion. Like what does it mean to like be immersed in a game? And it's just like my wife and I were talking last night. Like, you know, it's like we both love Red Dead Redemption 2. It's
Great
so
game.
hard to go back. Great game. Favorite protagonist. Arthur Morgan's like the greatest written protagonist of all time. I'll die on that hill.
Totally agree.
It's just like Roger Clark did such a good job. But like we were talking about it, it's just like we love Red Dead so much, but it's so hard to like go back and revisit. Like we've been like, oh, we should do another playthrough, and we're like, yeah, but it's just like there is like a wind up time that we haven't been privileged to like enjoy with like just how work has been going recently, to like get used to like how
To immerse yourself.
frankly shitty it's like to like immerse ourselves into like how shitty the controls are and like how Arthur moves, and like to just spend like, you know, hours like hunting or whatever, you know. It's just like, it's so, you like, if you let yourself get lost in that world, you really can. And I feel like that's what I'm always craving in games. And I think a lot of people kind of suffer from this now too, where it's just like, you know, you open up your Steam library, you open up your PlayStation library, and you know, you kind of like click from game to game to game, and you're just like, you don't even spend enough time with it to like, you're just immediately dissatisfied. Does that make sense? Where it's just,
I can get that.
Like, maybe I'll play. Yeah, you're like, maybe I'll play this because it'll scratch like this really specific itch that I have in my mind. And like you hit the like loading splash screen and you're like, no, I hate it. And then you like move to something else. It's like I've started like loading my Steam up in invisible mode because I would like jump between games, and like I would get DMs from friends being like, are you good? And like the answer is obviously no.
Yeah.
If I was good, I would just be sinking into like one game in front of me. But it's just like it's hard to like. Maybe this is the content creator burnout too, because I think that there is some of like, I'm like, sometimes I just really want to play a game, and it's really hard to like pull my brain away from like, but what if?
Yeah. So
what if this specific angle I could turn into a video, right? And
that's never going to go away. So
no, and it doesn't. I mean, I was looking at my Notion board for like all the ideas I have for videos, and like, you know, probably 60% of these won't see the light of day. It's 42 entries long. Whose time is going to make all that? Not me and Nonder.
Nope.
We're busy, you know? Like,
yeah, especially right now with Red Dead Redemption 2, they're doing the whole, I guess the spider Easter egg quest thing that's apparently everybody's now just figuring out is a thing now.
What?
I'm
opening a tab.
Okay, so literally, like I think maybe a month or 2 months ago, it started on this channel called The Strange Man, which of course is named after, you know, that strange man from Red Dead Redemption 1, Top Hat. Apparently, someone was just milling about near some train tracks, and there's like those telegraph poles in between the tracks. And somebody happened to take a little bit closer look at one of the telegraph poles, and there was a inscription of what looked like a spider. All right, just right there, just randomly there. And then someone else chimed in and was like, you know what? That's not the only thing that's going on. At certain points on the map, there are, and get this, there are literal spider webs in like on the very top of the telegraph poles. Sometimes one of them will have a feather, sometimes another one won't. But the weird thing is, they do not show up until a specific time at night. Like 1 a.m. in the middle of the dark. And they found that there's like, I think 6 of them. All right. So someone's like, okay, something's going on here. So yeah, something's going on here. So someone's like, hey, I'm going to take the spider etching, overlay it on the map, and it lines up with every single spider web that is on the telegraph poles. All right. And then at that point, it just stopped dead. And then the one guy was like, you know what? I'm just going to go around to every single telegraph pole and just shoot at it. So,
of course. Yeah. Yes, of course.
And he shot at one,
troubleshooting,
and the telegraph pole pulled apart, and underneath it was like a crude drawing of a building, and it led to one of the forts that you can go to in the main game. And you went there, and there's like little like now if you just walk by it, you're not going to notice, but if you really look for it, there's like notches, like 1, 2, 5, and all that kind of stuff. And then some guy got on top of one of the towers, and there's like little carvings of birds. And there's like more. I'm just condensing this down. Like there's like one clue that led to another clue that leads to another clue. But apparently this was not supposed to be the start of the clue. Because I don't know if you know this, Spooky, but over on, like the more, I guess, northern map where the cannibal hillbillies live. I forgot the Murtford Brood. I think that's what they're called.
Yeah, up in Ansford.
Yeah. There's like a little, little hamlet where there's a lot of classic hillbilly people, and then there's like one guy is like completely inbred and he looks like a mutant.
Yep.
But underneath like a certain house at a certain time, a red pentagram will show up. All right. And that's been but everyone knew about the pentagram.
Yeah, I remember the pentagram.
It was like everyone was like, what's the deal with the pentagram? What is the complete deal with the pentagram? And that led to each little outhouse in that town lined up with that pentagram, and that's where it ended. And no one knew, was like, what's the point? Is it just there to be there to screw with us? It's connected to this spider web thing.
That's insane.
There's the amount of community cryptic lore and stuff like that. I remember Grand Theft Auto when people were sitting there going oh yeah, you can unlock Bigfoot in San Andreas, and I'm just sitting there, and that became a huge thing, and I'm just sitting there going I'm not going to jump into it, but I'm glad this is grabbing so many people's attention.
But it's but I'm so glad someone is jumping into it. Same thing with Mount Chiliad. We're still trying to solve Mount Chiliad over a decade later. That's crazy.
Finding the secret blueprints for Arkham City in the original Batman Arkham Asylum, little things like that. And sometimes I don't know if it's their original plan or developers are sitting there going okay, put a patch in, and then we'll leave clues and Easter eggs for something that we're doing on in the future. But it is always a wonderful and a great little thing. Yes, blueprints. That is one of the things that you find in a, I haven't played that game, but I will be playing that game.
I've got to say, shout out to Swordbearer. He has been evangelizing blueprints for so long. And to answer your video game question of what have you been playing recently? My wife and I have actually been playing blueprints together, and it has been so fun. I hate puzzle games.
Yeah.
I am bad at puzzle games.
You and me both.
We have been having such a good time. It's a good game. And I feel ridiculous now because this is exactly what Swordbearer was doing to me. But I'm it's good. People need to play it. Granted, I don't think I'd be having as much, my wife loves puzzle games. She's a big, Nancy Drew girl. So she's, built for it. But, I've solved some things that you wouldn't think that I would be able to solve because my brain doesn't always work so good. And it rocks. It's so good. I literally can't recommend it enough. I wasn't a hater of Blueprints specifically, but I was a hater of puzzle games. Blueprints is awesome, and I'm still convinced that it's a horror game deep down. There's something really eerie and creepy about it. Yeah.
So I'm going to very briefly explain something. So I have a Steam library, which I share with 4 of my friends as part of my Steam family. And so we have this entire giant smorgasbord of games, and I'm just sitting there going, Blueprints is there, all of this stuff. And so I'll sit there and go one day it's going to be there.
And it's going to be worth it. I have to say, it's going to be worth it.
There've been a lot of really odd games that I never would have picked up if not for just random happenstance. For example, me and Wrath, we knew each other on Discord, and then he just messages me one day and says, "Hey, do you want to play a game together?" And this was because I was releasing like my video reviews, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm a YouTuber, I'm a video game reviewer," and he's like, "Oh, do you want to play a game together? Maybe we can make content or something like that." And I'm like, "What do you have in mind?" And he gives me Abiotic Factor, which is a game that I never would have touched. Just because how I view games is very differently. I'm always a story-based guy, and he's like, "Let's play this game together." And through me playing alongside with Wrath, this burgeoning friendship, I'm like, this is a really fun game, and I'm not killing everything. Wrath would go out and do all the heavy legwork where he would go out and kill things, and I'm like, I'm going to tend to a garden, and I'm going to make sure that everyone else has food that they can get taken care of.
He essentially became the camp wife for some odd reason.
Yeah, and I am enjoying it thoroughly through it, because with me, video games. So one of the reasons why I liked Ace Combat 5 so much is I was playing it and I'm like, this is an interactive movie. This is an extension of film and cinema. This is what film and cinema could be in the future if we keep progressing and putting stuff through that. My God, we have interactive movies. And so as a result of that, I fell in love with the narrative of Ace Combat 5. And ever since then, I'm playing through the lens of someone who's watching a film and sitting there going, how does this narrative make me feel? Did it emotionally impact me? Were there any parts of it that I didn't like, but what would I have done to change that? And that's kind of what went into me eventually wanting to be a YouTube reviewer and critic. But through video games is like, there's so many different things that are out there that completely will change and alter. So like, I never would have given Abiotic Factor a grab, but thanks to Wrath, I'm playing it. And there's many other games as well. I recently picked up a game that a lot of people hate, but I think is really quite genuinely good and charming, is Kingdom Come Deliverance.
The first one.
The first
Lutz
one.
Magoots Lutz Magoots is the biggest Kingdom Come evangelist ever. That's interesting. I want to like those games so badly.
So
everything about Kingdom Come Deliverance, even down to like its punishing nature, I'm like, I should like this.
Yep.
Because here's my dirty little secret.
Okay.
The game that I've probably spent the most time playing in the last like 6 years is Escape from Tarkov.
Okay.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ, you're one of those guys. Yeah.
And here's the deal.
All right.
There are so many aspects of Tarkov that is not a good game.
Yes.
There is just so much in Tarkov that is not good. But there is so much in Tarkov that is so good. And nothing scratches the itch for me like Tarkov.
How do you feel about Escape from Duckov?
For me,
Cute.
For me, my game that I could not put down for the longest time was DayZ. Right, I first started playing DayZ on console. Literally, I think 4 years ago, and for like 4 years straight, I could not put that game down. And there will be times like where, and this is when I still had like a dedicated friend group that would play nothing but DayZ, and it was getting it like, and I would stream it too. I mean, I did have a YouTube channel way back in the day, and I since got rid of it because I was like, you know what, this channel's literally dead for some odd reason. I'll just start back when I have a better setup. All right. And when you would look back at my channel, there would be like, like freaking literally 16 hours of footage, and about 98% of it is us doing absolutely jack all but when it came to those specific moments where you hear a gunshot off in the distance, you're like a bunch of like how deer in the headlights will just immediately like stick their head up and just turn and look. That was us. We were like
ramps,
like attention, and then the shots are getting closer, and then we all like fucking little goblins suited up and just immediately run towards it. And there's like a good 5 minutes of us just complete and utter chaos. And we're chasing down literally a dude that has like a freaking hatchet for a weapon. We're just decked out in gear. And Like what? And I'm gonna share this specific moment. Like, and yes, you can constitute this as a war crime. Spoiler alert: it was a war crime, Spooky. So add that to the count.
I'm listening.
I'm running a tally.
Me, and my squad of 5, including me, were running along a coastline. And if anyone knows what Daisy is, you'll know what the coast is. And we're running along, and we're just literally out in the open field, and there's like this one little metal shed. All right, and we're decently geared. We all have fully automatic weapons, and I round the corner on the shed, and there's literally a dude just walking out of the shed carrying a fucking piece of sheet metal. Now, when you carry like a large item, there's literally nothing you can do. You cannot move faster. You're defenseless. Like, this dude had like an AK on his back, and I'm dead ass looking at him right in the eye, and the rest of my squad rolls around behind me, and he looks, and it's like, you can't write this. He literally looks at everybody, looks at me, kind of like looks at the shit that he's carrying in his hand, and he kind of like looks down a little bit. And at first I'm like, so are we going to like, just hold him up and just take his shit? And then my dude next to me, and he's like, nah. And just unloads, and I was like, okay, we're doing this. I was like, okay, we're doing this, and we all firing squad this dude.
That's crazy.
And it's like those little moments that literally like, okay, we went like 4.5 hours of doing absolutely nothing, and then we do this, and then we're literally talking about it for the next 2.5 hours,
Oh, it's like those are like my favorite moments of those kind of things though. It's just like the gameplay will be like 1 second of something happening, but then it's like it's the debrief and like the storytelling that happens around it, and it's like that's one of the things that has like kept Tarkov so interesting for me, even though everybody recoiled in despair for me when I said that it is my most played game, because it's just like those dynamic, like emergent storytelling things I think are so interesting. It's just like I like playing like a well-crafted like story game.
Mm-hmm.
Or like something that's like a little bit more like linear or on rails. But like what I always go back to is just like, what's going to happen in the moment? Cause I don't know. And at least for like how I create live content as well, it's just like, those are the kind of games that I gravitate towards. It's like, I want something to react to. I can't stream a story game. Like if there's too much dialogue in the game, it's a problem. Cause it's like, obviously, I yap. Like I'm here to talk. I'm here to put on a show.
You're there to engage with the audience. Unless, of course, it gets to
let a cutscene play.
Unless, of course, it gets to a point where, like, for example, if you're playing Persona 5, they will have scenes that are voice acted and then long stretches where no one's saying anything, but there are dialogue bubbles. And eventually it turns into, like, fuck it, I'm going to do voice acting live here on the stream, and you're going to have to fucking deal with me trying to pretend to be a prepubescent girl. Or wrath in other terms.
Shut up, Bottom.
Again, shout out to Swordbear. He, another aspiring voice actor, has been on a big like Yakuza grind.
Yes!
Yes. And here's the thing. Another thing that I've been incredibly evangelized to play, maybe like as I'm in my like streaming hiatus, I'll finally, tap into all the Yakuza games in my library. But he has created a wheel of voices that he'll do for like Majima and who's the other guy,
Thanks, Breezy.
And he will like hit, whoever. Just like he'll spin the wheel, and like all of a sudden, like Majima for the rest of his stream is Joey Wheeler from Yu-Gi-Oh! Or it's Carl Weezer from Jimmy Neutron.
I love it.
And it's just like it's such a good idea, and it's like such a good natural way to practice, because again, in so many of these games, like so much of the dialogue is just in those boxes that it's just like I could just read it like me, or if I'm like gifted, like maybe, hey, Yugs, like maybe we're gonna like have a duel. Like it's just he'll do the whole thing, and it's incredible. So, it's a kind of like fun way that you can engage with different things. But like to go back to the Kingdom Come Deliverance, just like I want to love those games. I got soft locked playing Kingdom Come.
Oh no,
the first Kingdom Come.
Okay,
and because I was like, right. I enjoy the fact that Henry is like a complete bumbling idiot.
Yeah.
He's illiterate.
Yep.
He's out of shape.
Yep.
He sucks. Like
he's
just
got
sucks,
no martial
right?
training.
Yeah, and then your home is like laid to waste, and like you're supposed to run away on this horse, but like it's a shitty horse, and the human that is chasing you has a better horse and knows how to fight. And like somehow I hit like the exact checkpoint moment as he was like swinging a death blow on me. So it was like dead, reload, dead, reload. And I was just like,
fuck.
I'm like, you know what? I'm sure the next like 400 hours of this game are going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I was so excited to teach Henry how to read. Fuck this game. And I haven't played it since.
So the interesting thing that I find about Kingdom Come Deliverance, because I was also kind of sort of like sitting there going, oh, right, let's see where we go from here. And my major thing is like, it's not really about the quest for vengeance. It's more like, hey, Henry, we're going to help you get a little bit, get some closure, move yourself up in the world. None of the stealing and the rogue stuff was stuff that I cared for. But then when I started getting into the combat and it's like, oh, I don't know how to properly counter stuff. I have to build up that skill set. And I'm like, this is intriguing because I absolutely hate when games do shit like this. Like if you were to give me Dark Souls or any of the From Software games, I'm like, burn it with fire. It's an abomination against our Lord. But if you were to give me something like Kingdom Come, I'm like, the progression makes sense. Once you hit this point, then it becomes fun. Then it becomes addictive. And you have the story. And you have the characters and personality. Although, once again, my game reviewer mind is sitting there going like, Henry would have been killed for some of the shit that he does to Sir Hans Capon very early in the game. You don't talk that way to nobles. And I'm just like, you would have been fucking dead. Or in prison for the rest of your life.
There's no game here, actually. Yeah. But he's a great character, and it's just like and my buddy Lutz is a very big like Kingdom Come fan. Like Warhorse has his like direct line, which is so wild to me.
Yep.
And I've been enjoying watching him play Kingdom Come too. It's like sometimes there are games that I'm just like I would just rather watch someone else like suffer through, and it's like maybe that's just one of them. It's just like there's so much stuff to consume and there's so much stuff to play. My time is so limited, but I'm like I like the idea of this game, and I actually really like Henry as a character.
Yeah, he's great.
But I just like that one soft lock. I was just like, man, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it.
So I had a soft lock in a game that, first of all, absolutely is. I love it so long as it doesn't consistently soft lock, because it has problems out the wazoo.
Sure. And
it is a game called The Evil Within 2.
Oh fuck!
Yeah,
I think I know what you're talking about.
Well, so like I was at this point where, once again, I was just starting streaming. The game had just come out. I'm like, cool, I got to race home. I got to get on Twitch. I got to get the views and get the people that are in there. And I'm playing for maybe about, I think, hour and a half, maybe hour 45 minutes. And I'm sitting at, you basically build a palace in your mind, your safe place, which is basically, your sort of office, your police office, which doesn't exist, but it's in your head. And sometimes you'll come across key microfilms, which could be put in a slide projector, which gives you backstory and little parts into how, oh my God, I've forgotten his name, which is very bad. Sebastian, which goes into some of Sebastian's lore. And you get his sort of like opinion on how things shaped out. And I'm sitting there going like, cool, I want to know exactly how he felt about his wife and his kid and all this blame and guilt that he's going through. And then as I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm pressing the button to leave, and it's not letting me leave.
Oh no.
And I'm just sitting there going like, what do I do here? Because I'm on stream. I'm on my PlayStation 4 stream. And the thing is about PlayStation 4 is the moment you stop playing a game, that's when it stops having the Twitch integration. The stream officially ends. And I'm just sitting there going like, I have a chat. I have an audience. I'm going to lose that chat and audience the moment I quit, but I can't. I can't go.
So you're just stuck in this room.
Yeah.
For eternity. Yeah.
But I will casually say, even though I am someone who cares very much about story, I will tell you right now, and I don't know if this is nostalgia, because once again, you and I come from the same era of games. You mentioned Mercenaries. I did enjoy Mercenaries, but the groups of games that came from Electronic Arts that are in my mind that live rent free, EA Sports big. And we're going to talk about SSX 3. We're talking about Def Jam Fight for New York. We're talking about
my God.
Yeah, we're talking about that era of games. Their Need for Speed Undergrounds, like all of that lives.
Burnout 3 Takedown.
Burnout 3 Takedown. NBA Street Volume 2. And I'm just sitting there going like, I miss those games so much. I know I can go back and play them. Right in behind me is my PlayStation 2. But the fact that I haven't had a game that scratches that itch in so long, it's just like, it feels like there's something that needs to happen. What are we doing here? We have the technology.
It's very old man yells at cloud.
Yeah.
But I'm like, the games these days, but it's the games these days are like, they're like over commoditized.
Yeah.
Truly. I mean, it's just like the industry has changed, and like what used to be a disc that you got and put in your console was as like a complete product that like you literally couldn't push a patch to.
Otherwise you lose a fuck ton of money.
Literally back then it was like, this game has to be not broken.
Done.
Yep.
It has to be freaking done. There is one shot. That's all you got. Now, of course, there were studios who were like, we're just going to throw it out there. We don't care. We've already sunk too much money into it, and let's just make back as much as we can. But for other times, it was like, that game has to be done. It has to be right. You cannot. We have no do-over. There is no internet. There is no patching. Right. There is none of this.
Todd Howard is shitting himself right now as we speak.
Yeah, right. It just works if you don't do too much. Yeah.
That
era I love.
Because nowadays it's like, all right, we're going to throw it out there and we're going to patch it for the next year and a half, and then people will be fine.
Assuming it gets launched.
Yeah, because like the game will completely change. Like, I mean, it's like when I was like doing like some review content, I mean, it's just like, I look at like the review videos I made and I'm like, yeah, these opinions stand for 2022, but it's just like the first video that I ever had that like did well on my channel was a review of a game called Stolen Realm. It was in early access, and I think that video has like, 20,000 views or something. The game doesn't even look the same.
Yeah.
They've updated it so much in the 3 years since I've put that video out that it's not the same game.
Yeah.
Which, like, frankly, makes my job really hard, because it's like my effort and energy to make like an evergreen video just isn't possible in like review content in an early access world. It's just like, and I also don't want to make a video about the same game every year or every major update, because it's just like, I just didn't have the time to do it. I was like, I better talk about old games that have already come out from a completely different angle and irrelative to their update status. It's just like, what happens in it,
So I'll very briefly. Oh, sorry, you go ahead. Raph.
Yeah, like with say Fallout 76 and what was the other game? Space one. It wasn't Starfield. It's
No Man's Sky.
No Man's
Oh.
Sky. Like when those games first came, freaking garbage.
I'm a No Man's Sky apologist. I liked it from the start. It's actually too much for me now. But yeah.
Like, I mean, they were both games were hot freaking garbage, and I can attest for Fallout 76 because I freaking played it when it first came out, and I was like, this is a piece of crap. All right. Didn't touch No Man's Sky because I heard the same thing. I was like, nah, I'm not going to touch that. It's a piece of crap.
It's so good.
But now both games have done a complete 180. But at the same time, I'm like, these games shouldn't have done a 180. They should have kept going forward. They should have been done to begin with.
Right. It's like it should have been a viable product at launch. And I think
with Fallout 76, they were like, oh, there's no NPCs. You are the NPCs. I was like, you don't understand. NPCs
Yeah, like nothing feels more like that. Nothing feels more like that than playing that game early on. You are the NPC. It's like I do feel like a soulless idiot for buying this product. Yeah.
Yeah, because at that point it's like no, the idea is like NPCs were like a cornerstone, or no, not cornerstone, a pillar of Fallout. All right, the wacky, the insane, the just crazy and horrific characters that you would run along. Now, granted, if in our day and age there are people like that, so I guess you could say if it was released now, people would definitely take up that mantle really fast.
Mm-hmm.
But because now I play Fallout 76 on a regular basis, for a good hour, 2 hours out of my day when I'm off, and it's just these games now with the RAM crisis that's going on thanks to freaking AI and all that.
Ugh.
But here's might be a silver lining. Since all the RAM is being taken up by AI, and the next generation of consoles probably being delayed because of that, game studios are now looking and saying, we probably should not release an unoptimized game at this point because people do not have the RAM to freaking play it. Which means
silver lining.
someone is literally had the idea. It's like, so we should make the games optimized at this time, sir?
Make a complete functioning product, like what we've been begging to. Like my sympathy for like all the devs out there, because it's just like they don't want,
like the devs I know for a fact are want to make sure the game is 100%. I am totally like,
but now
on their side.
But now the studios have to be like back on, the publishers have to be back on board, because they're just like, oh my god, it's like it's not even viable to like string people along like this. Which
like
is
the
why
game
GTA
has
6 will
to
come
be
out in
done.
2032. Yeah.
And like and of course we had the whole, and I'm still hoping this becomes a thing. The loot boxes finally get destroyed because they deserve a very special pit in hell. And surprise mechanics has become a mantra at this point. But now, like, and I'm going to lean back into like the very beginning of this segment. Now that we know who Bobby Kotick was talking to, and being possibly the I guess momentous push towards normalizing this particular microtransactions and stuff like that, can gamers now use that as a weapon against them, saying, so if you're pushing microtransactions, that means you are supporting this person that is completely a piece of crap and done horrible things, and it's constantly shown to be doing horrible things years after his death. So you're saying that when you push this out, you're actually supporting this particular person. So what is your answer to that question?
I'm going to answer this, what I know about gaming journalism in the world as a whole. Mm-hmm. And there will always be someone like Bobby Kotick. And what I mean by that is how AAA gaming, how the industry is running, there will always be a company of power-hungry executives who only care about their bottom line and do not care about the artistry or the craft or the people that were working for them. A lot of people don't realize, and this is mentioned by Kotaku many, many years ago. I think it was like from 2012 was this article. But they had mentioned that at the time of Bobby Kotick getting the most money than any CEO in the entirety of the industry, there were bottom level employees that couldn't even afford to eat at the cafeteria for the company. And I understand this from the perspective of both as a games journalist and as a YouTuber. There will always be companies like that, but eventually there comes a point where employees that are part of those companies will look at it and go, this is bullshit. We should leave this behind and start our own thing. And fuck what they think. And then you get games like Claire Obscure, Expedition 33. Then you get games like Dispatch. Mm-hmm. The industry is
game of the year.
Yeah. There will always there will always be mismanagement. There will always be people that think they know better and try to domineer over others, but there are also so many different ways and so many different wonderful people that can look at it and go, we don't have to do the same thing that everyone else is doing. We can choose to go our own way. And hopefully you have the next Hades. Hopefully you have the next
Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
So all is not lost, but at the same time, you just have to navigate and move to a new thing. Because I'm gonna say it right now, I'm starting to play less and less AAA titles or whatever. I'm starting to play more indie titles like Abiotic Factor. And I will jump into the AA space. I did this great video on Hi-Fi Rush and talking about you need to see that video because we went in depth about the shit that happened at Microsoft and the stupidity that goes into it. But
it's just ridiculous.
There are games.
So much
game sells well. Everyone gets fired.
There are games in the AA space and in the indie space that will continue to grow and continue to inspire. And I'm rooting for them, and I hope they continue to grow. And I hope that those that have, domineered the industry for so long will have something that shakes up their system.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, and it's crazy too. I mean, it's just like to take it full circle, into the Call of Duty realm again. I hadn't realized, first off, rip Vince Zampella, who recently passed away.
Rest in peace.
The originator of Call of Duty, who then jumped ship and made Titanfall and made Apex Legends and continued to be an innovator in this AAA space. I mean, it's just there are people who are at high levels in the industry that still genuinely give a shit. And he was one of those people who's even within all the parameters of the corporate structure that feeds the beast of this huge development process, who were pushing innovation and were trying to do really unique things. But it's just it is few and far between. And eventually, I mean, in fairness, he jumped ship from Infinity Ward and made Respawn and then made Titanfall. And Titanfall 2 was still one of the greatest, tightest, first person shooter campaigns ever.
And thank goodness.
Yes. And thank goodness. And then that becomes Apex Legends, which was huge. I mean, it's nobody talks about Apex anymore, but it's just it was a monumental thing. And, then they turned that into the Jedi games and all this stuff. So it's just the innovation is still there, but it's just it's not tenable with the bloat and the inefficiency and the mismanagement that any large organization sees. There is a sweet spot, I think, in development. And I think much sort of this shift and renaissance that we're seeing in Hollywood. I mean, it's just obviously it's just the bloated budgets and the waste doesn't create a lasting product. It's it'll create something that is certainly there. It's certainly one of the pieces of entertainment of all time. But I mean, we look at the release of Black Ops 7, which I'm absolutely fucking dreading. I'm dreading getting to that point.
I do not.
Don't wish it on me, but it's just I said every Call of Duty game, so it's just I'm gonna have to do it at some point, and I'm gonna steal a copy of it.
So I'm going.
I can't pay for it.
Spooky, I will tell you this right now. I am so freaking glad that I have Game Pass Ultimate because I used to buy a lot of games. All right, and when I saw that Call of Duty 7 was going to be on Game Pass on day one, I was like, okay, all right, cool, cool, and I could not get past the first hour. I'm going to tell you that right now. I have played I have played every single Call of Duty except for 4 because it has no single player. And
Black Ops 4.
Black Ops 4.
Also not looking forward to that, but yeah.
But I don't even know how you're going to even do that because that's multiplayer only.
Fucking me neither, but we'll get there.
So I'll casually bring this up because for me this is the Kingdom Hearts situation involving me. So I picked up Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. It was coming out, and I'm like, you know what? These first-person shooters are they're getting really, really popular. Let's see what this whole Modern Warfare experience was. And I enjoyed the campaign. I managed to get a platinum on it, which was a fucking grind and a half.
Yeah.
And I jumped online and I was enjoying it. And I'm like, okay, I want to actually start reviewing games. This was before I was reviewing games. And I'm like, I want to start legitimately reviewing games. And flash forward to, I'm at the girl that I'm dating's place, and her brother's got a Modern Warfare Call of Duty one. I don't remember which one. It might have been the first Black Ops. It was back when they had, if you get 30 kills, you get a tactical nuke, which just ends the entire map.
Yep.
And I was just bored, and I'm like, okay, well, give me a FAMAS. It's a 3-shot gun, great accuracy, good mid-range.
Broken.
And it absolutely broken. And one particular afternoon, I got 2 consecutive tactical nukes in that online multiplayer thing, and I stopped for a second, and I'm like, okay, I have smashed through my personal best, my glass ceiling. Is this still fun, or am I just doing this because I'm bored? Is this something that I want to turn this into a career and go to tournaments? And I answered to myself, no, because I want to review games because I care about the story, because I want to be inspired. I want to cry the same time I cried when I played Ace Combat 5: The Unsung War. I want to play Burnout 3 Takedown and listen to so many new
the best
musical
soundtrack of all gaming.
I would play games made by EA because I would look forward to the music, the soundtrack, the OSTs that were there, and I would fall in love with some bizarro rock and roll band from California that I had never heard of. And next thing you know, I'm sitting there listening to Autopilot Off and Chronic Future and Zebrahead and all
this
these
guy Burnouts.
I fucking Burnout. Jesus Christ.
Burnout 3 literally formed my entire taste in music to this day. This day.
But for me, it's always been about the story, and as much as I enjoy gameplay, I will be dragged down that thing. I can't make a massive investment, which is one of the reasons why I tend to avoid JRPGs or games where it's like, oh, it's fine once you hit the 100-hour mark, and I'm like, let's talk about this.
It really starts cooking when you get 100 hours in. It's just like, I don't.
Oh, that's a good thing. It doesn't.
I'm like, get me a microwave. Like, speed that up. Like,
I'll review a 50-episode anime. I will not review One Piece.
Like, that's for me for Red Dead Redemption 2. When I first played it, I enjoyed it. But then when I want to play it again, there's that 2-hour slog from the very beginning. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, dude. See, it's like, I think that the wintry, prologue, I think people hate on that too much. Controversial.
I mean, I don't hate on it too much, but I'm like, I get it. I know I'm starting fresh, but can I get like a new game plus where I can just skip that part, please?
Yeah, you're like, get me to the open world. Like, I'm ready to. Yeah, I'm trying to get
because I want to immediately kill small defenseless animals right now, please.
Give me my varmint rifle and let me.
So long as it's not Cyberpunk 2077, I'll be fine.
That game, we could go on for about a good 3 hours.
I'll
still on my list now that it's done. Like, I still have intention to actually give it the fair college try, but
I bought that game when I still had an Xbox One, and the part of me is like, I shouldn't have done that. But I did, and
did you get a refund?
No.
So
no,
I managed to. So I'm blessed with the city that I'm in has a great public library system where you can go in and you can grab modern video games for consoles if they have it in stock. You can put your name down on a wait list, and eventually it'll get shipped to your library and you can go and pick it up. During the course of the pandemic, I grabbed, once again, I did not have this full gaming PC. I was still grabbing footage from my PlayStation 4 and then editing it on what I got. And I grabbed the PlayStation 4 version of Cyberpunk 2077. Ooh, yep. Ooh.
Oh.
Here we haven't even started. This is a quarter of the story. I played Cyberpunk 2077 on my PlayStation 4. This was 2 years after the launch. So they did manage to patch things. They did manage to make things. I'm like, okay, but I'm still going to be playing this game from the perspective of this is what I experienced while playing it, this is what's going into the script writing. It doesn't matter how nice and fancy it is after the video goes out. This is where I am.
Right.
And so I have it, and I have the audio up and running. Everything is good as gold. I'm exporting the video files, and I suffer a catastrophic hard drive failure.
Oh.
And my entire SSD poof. Now this just isn't just game footage. This is like resumes. This is music demos for my bands.
Man.
This is the last recorded message of my grandma to me before she passed away. Was on this hard drive. I went out, found a data recovery center, and spent like $600 to $700 to get them to fix that hard drive, try to pull as much as they possibly could off of it. They saved everything except for my Twitch live streams, which meant I had no footage for Cyberpunk 2077. So what I did was I went back to the library, I got myself another copy of Cyberpunk 2077, and they patched that thing significantly, and I'm like, this isn't accurate to what I experienced. I need something that's going to at least be somewhat realistic to what I played.
Right.
Oh God, I know what I need to do. So I unhooked the Ethernet cable from my PlayStation 4, and I played the launch version.
No.
Day
Holy
one,
shit, dude.
zero patch of Cyberpunk 2077, and then got hard locked 3/4 of the campaign through. Could not beat it.
Oh my God.
And then rewrote the script to bring in the
account for
fact
that.
to recover that. Re-edited everything, put it out into the world. And I'm just sitting there going like, I'll take the walk-off home run. Fuck it, let's go.
For real. Like
the amount of vitriol that I got from it, and I'm like, I don't care. It's out. Deal with it. I'm not doing this again.
I suffered for this. This is what you get. This is the product you get. Wow.
My roommate, he was formerly my executive producer. Basically, I would be going to him and I'd just say, hey, here's my script. Can you run through it? And if anything doesn't sound factual, or if it sounds like I'm talking out of my ass, you need to challenge me. You need to make sure that this holds water, because otherwise, if someone on the YouTube comment section grabs it and I can't defend myself, I'm fucked. Yep. So he's a huge Cyberpunk 2077 fan, and he looked at me and he was like, say the word, I can go out and get you on Steam the current updated version of Cyberpunk 2077. It's a lot better game. Hell, I'll throw in Phantom Liberty with it as well. And I'm just like, you don't understand the pain that I have gone through. I am not doing this again. I love you, but shut the fuck up.
Yep. It's like, the people need to know what the PS4 experience was like. Yeah. It's a very important, you have a very important historical record.
Yeah.
With a lot of blood,
sweat and tears
in between the frames of your poor SSD. Amazing they recovered all that. I would have been
the thing that I cared the most about at that time. I'm more of an emotional person rather than a logical person. The thing that I cared the most about is the fact that I was able to recover that final conversation with my grandma, because she during the pandemic, she got breast cancer, and I didn't she thought it was nothing at the time. She's like, hey, the pandemic has shut everything down. I'm an elderly woman who's 90 something years old. If I go into the hospital, there's a chance I could get COVID and get sick. I'm going to wait a little bit, and when things have died down, then I'll go. And that, unfortunately, was what sealed her fate. And there were times where, like, even now it still hits me. One of the things that I cannot go back and rewatch. I did a review on Ghost of Tsushima. And I was editing that just after my grandma passed away because I needed something to keep I needed something to keep my mind going because I'm like, if I don't have something to work towards, I'm just going to sit here and cry and break down. And like, I can go back and I the script I wrote was good, the video editing was good, but emotionally it takes me back into where I was at that time.
It's a black hole.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, I'm so thankful that this kept me busy during this. And not one that you need to like
ever
revisit. Yeah. Totally understandable. Completely understandable. I'm thankful you got that recording back because it's just like, I think about that kind of stuff, it's just like, my parents are older, but like they're still alive, but like, I have voicemails that I hold on to because I think about that. It's just like I have been confronted with their mortality enough that I'm like, I need to have something because it's just like,
I'll say one very positive thing about that phone call conversation because I did listen to it a couple months ago, and even though my grandma, like, you can tell that she's starting to get a little bit rough, but it hasn't gotten to the point where she's in serious pain. But she had mentioned in her retirement community, one of the things that she really started to get into was Korean dramas. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at her and I'm like, that's where I get it from. Because my parents are the black sheeps of their family. And I'm the type of person who I'm like, I don't know anything about this fandom, but I'm going to take a mad swing. And then it becomes the newest thing that I absolutely love. And I'm just like, I can't wait to talk to people about that. And I get that from my grandma. And that's also
so cool.
I know. But yeah, as a whole, I think this is a good point to end it on. Does anyone have anything that they want to say before we wrap up today? Like, do you have something you want? Okay.
Raph, go crazy.
Yep.
Oh, yes. We will go crazy. First of all, your latest video, I'm talking about the Call of Duty 4 video. Do you have plans for Clay? Like, merchandise-wise, the Claymore plushie that you got.
That thing was adorable.
I grab him? Yeah, hold on, I'll grab him. Answer because I can't hear. Yes. Let's see. Hold on. I'm unaudioed. Yeah, it's really funny that you mention. Do I have plans for Clay? Because I actually just brought my wife to a fabric store near us because this is prototype Clay. He is made from an old pair of pants, right? Like literally, like this is just like scrap textile that we had laying around the house. And she's incredibly talented. She'd never believe it if I said it, but like, she made this. And yeah, we went to a fabric store the other day because she's wanting to like, be doing more craft and things like that. She actually just worked on a very like diabolical Nigel Thornberry that she made completely from memory.
Oh no.
She looked at no references. It's exceptional. She posted a picture, so I'll find that and send that to you. But we went to this fabric store because I was like, okay, if you're going to start doing this, like before you start like working on all these other crafts, I'm like, can I make a request? And she said, yeah, of course. And I was like, can we get you some fabric so that you can make a handful of additional clays? And then this is a spoiler, but back there is a Bouncing Betty prototype that she made for the World at War video. I was like, can we make like a handful of clays and Bettys so that in an upcoming video, I can do a shout out and say, hey, I have a very, very limited stock, one of a kind, handmade Claymores and Bouncing Bettys. Because the merch service that I use has like you can post your own products on it and like do your own fulfillment kind of thing. So I'm just like, just put them up there for, whatever is reasonable and see what happens. So there will be at some point in the future, a very limited edition run of some of those. And then hopefully by that point, maybe, just maybe, the channel will be at at a size where I could reasonably work with, you know, a quote unquote like a real manufacturer to like do like another like limited run of like a formalized thing. Because it's like, yeah, I think the little like Warcrime family that we're developing, just like as I need props, has got some potential. We're trying to like figure out how to make like a Molotov cocktail with like clear material. You know, there's a lot of theory crafting going on. And
you need a
how we
T-shirt
bring
that
all this
says
in.
Warcrime family.
I am actually, I've also been theorizing on just some like kind of like more topical merch. Like a lot of the merch that I have is just like funny stuff from stream or whatever. And I never, like, if someone buys it, I'm like, that's crazy. Like the only thing I ever sell is these mugs, which are from an ill-fated moment where I made what's called the Church of Glenn. There's not enough time to explain all of that. Just know we considered making a legitimate like 503c nonprofit about it because it would have been funny. Because it's really easy to make a church in the United States of America. Fun fact. But one of the things that we're thinking about is because I'm so bad at apparently properly identifying tanks. My editor Nander was like, yeah, you should make T-shirts that say "I love Tiger tanks," but then have like silhouettes of tanks that aren't Tiger tanks on it. And I'm just like, that's funny.
Or
like,
tanks for the memories.
Right. So yeah, tanks for the memories. Huge, huge. I'm writing it down because it's just like, yeah, just like rage bait, you know, like just a little like IRL rage bait. But yeah, I've got some ideas around that. Great suggestion. You're in a similar, that's a Bluetooth connected moment because like literally yesterday we acquired the fabric to make however many Clays and Bettys can come out of 4 yards.
Second question.
Here we go.
Which Call of Duty minus Black Ops 7 and Black Ops 4 are you most interested in tackling in the future? Like besides those two I just listed, which one do you think is going to be the most interesting, maybe most nuanced or morally gray?
You named 2 of the 3 that I'm the least excited for. You like besides Black Ops 7 and Black Ops 4, famously what are going to be like the roughest experiences for me. Add Vanguard into that list. The one that I think I'm the most excited for, I have 2. I'm always a multi-part answer kind of guy because I'm a yappy bastard. Call of Duty World War II, not because I think it's a particularly good or nuanced game, but because I have a very special memory around Call of Duty World War II specifically, and I have a fun idea. Like TLDR, one of my like good friends and I, like when that game came out, we were coworkers at the time, and the game came out and like we were just like, dude, we should just like hang out. Like, what if we just like hung out and like played the whole game and like made some pizzas and like what if every time we died we took a shot and then passed the controller? Because like games have like true like couch co-op, and like what a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Of like, when we die, we drink, therefore we die because we drank, so we drink to die to drink. And it's just one of those like memories because it was just like, you know, I think I was like 25 when that game came out. My math isn't good, but I was like somewhere in that like, you know, like early to mid 20s range. You miss college. It was a very like college energy kind of night, and it was just like so much fun playing it that way. And I'm so excited to like share that story with a wider audience and like maybe bring him in for the video in some way. Like there's just like, by that point in the series, my channel will either be dead or I'll have like ultimate creative freedom. So
fingers crossed on the
latter. Thank you. But honestly, regardless of what happens, this is like, it'll be a great time. I think one of the videos that I'm most excited for is Black Ops 2. One from the recent nuance that was pointed out to me that technically Black Ops 2 is now historical fiction because even the future parts take place in 2025. Kill me with a gun. So there's a whole lot going on with that. but also because it has branching storylines. Like there's multiple endings and like different situations that can happen based off of your choices. I think it's gonna be really fun for me, and I've been thinking about this for a long time. Is like, how do we still make this like a palatable video? How do we address like the canon path that goes while still covering like what happens in the non-canon routes? And I have a couple different ideas around that, but it's just like that's been like a fun problem to kind of think through. Also, I have a fun memory of like how I acquired my copy of Black Ops 2 that I'm excited to share. And it's just like it's one of the like better games, I think. It's
Right.
just those will both be very, very fun. Not even like I think Black Ops 2 is like objectively a pretty good game. I think World War II is objectively a game. But like my memories around it and like the story that I can bring to the table, I think is what kind of like keeps it interesting. And it's just proof to me that like the series can be fresh, even though we're sort of doing the same thing over and over again.
I only have 2 more questions, so this is question 3.
7 questions. Okay, let's go.
Okay, here we go. Give me a second. I'll go put on the Lord of the Rings extended edition. You can tell me when it's over.
Oh, please. Yeah, can we? Yeah.
All right, 3rd question. After you're done with the Call of Duty series, if you do plan on continuing down the war crime path,
yes,
FBI and CIA, please do not take a
in Minecraft.
Do not record that. If you do plan on continuing down your war crime streak, essentially, which game after Call of Duty would you consider? It can be either a single game or a series. Which game would you consider doing next after you've completed your Call of Duty arc, essentially?
Yeah, I'll raise you. Spin-offs are already being thought about and kind of like planned and accounted for. It's going to preempt finishing Call of Duty. I have played 4 Call of Duty games. There are now 22 Call of Duty. I plan and anticipate to be doing spin-offs regardless. Both because I think that's a way to like bring in other audiences to kind of the main line, because there are people who just like don't give a shit about Call of Duty. I get it. Frankly, I might be one of them, despite the fact that I've had to spend a lot of time thinking about it. I have intentions to do Battlefield. I have intentions to do Medal of Honor. I have intentions to do Brothers in Arms. Like, there's a lot of these games that kind of lets me sink more back into the retrospective piece that I find really interesting. Like the more like recent games, I think like they get like it's diminishing returns to me because there's not the same like level of nostalgia and interest or craftsmanship, unfortunately. The more modern games I think will begin to feel like, I guess by the time I get to Black Ops 7, it'll be old. But regardless, the idea is like I am already thinking about these other things, and podcast exclusive. The first spinoff that I plan to do before before I go into like other series, like where I'm like, obviously my hope is like that this can become successful enough that I can ramp up production. So it's like we can have Call of Duty going, have Battlefield going, have Medal of Honor going, because there's a lot of games and a lot of gameplay and a lot of shit to do.
Ghost Recon.
Ghost Recon, yeah. I mean, it's just like it's basically an endless cell. As long as people are interested in like what I have to say about this stuff, I will happily keep making it. But long story short, the first spinoff has to be a game that I've never played, which is Spec Ops: The Line. It's the first military shooter.
Oh my God, you are going to have a fucking field day with that one.
I know. Well, it's the first military shooter that really like sort of raised the question about like, are we the baddies? And like the question of like, oh, what if war games show war crime, and how do we reckon with that? And I think that it would be a disservice to not start the spinoffs with that.
Spooky, I will tell you this right now. When you actually start on Spec Ops: The Line, please DM me, because I have so much to talk about that game.
I will definitely do that.
Because I have played that game. It's a single player game. All right. Mm-hmm. I have, and usually once I do like a single player game, I'll either play it maybe twice or 3 times. This is the only game that I have in recent long memory, sorry, that I have played at least 15 different times because it was that freaking good. 15 different times.
That's interesting. And also, you know
it's a
what?
single player game.
Shout out Steam family sharing, because currently Spec Ops: The Line is not available for purchase on like normal platforms. Can't get it on GOG, can't get it on Steam, can't get it on Epic. You can buy like a physical copy for like literally $90.
Yeah.
But
times.
One of my buddies that I do a Steam family share with has it in his library, so we're good to go.
Because I played the 360 version, and I'm telling you right now, once you start playing it, please come and talk to me, because I can let you in on a couple of things.
I'm excited to tackle it. That one's been on the list for a long time. This won't be happening this year because it's already February. But I was recently reminded by before I learned how to turn off unwanted ads on my smart TV's home screen, I was reminded, well, I knew that 50 Cent existed, but I hadn't thought about 50 Cent in any sort of like serious way in a while.
Blood in the Sand.
I was reminded that he has a game called 50 Cent Blood on the Sand.
Oh, okay.
He has two of them.
Yeah. I was thinking specifically Blood on the Sand, where he just goes to Iraq and fights in the global war on terror, I think.
To get the skull that's crusted in diamonds.
His kid helped influence the writing of that game. He's just like, I got this idea.
Awesome.
And surprisingly, that game rated very well. Apparently, it got an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, and see, I've never played it, but I was reminded that it existed, and I'm like, what a fucking funny April Fool's Day video.
Do that. That's gonna be
Blood on the Sand. I'm like, I have to do it. So it's like, that's your podcast exclusive. That will be happening at some point in the future.
I will say
also,
this: that
game is also $90 on the like secondhand market. So you know
that game's going to get copyrighted so hard if they play any of that music in there.
Yeah, the DMCA is gonna be a bitch, but Blood on the Sand, I'm committing to it now. I will find a way to make it happen, because like, how funny.
All right, so
ridiculous thing. Fourth question.
My last question. And this is more of a personal one.
Is the whole reason why we had this podcast so that you can fangasm? What is going on here?
Yeah, he's just like, shut up, the inside scoop. Yeah.
Shut up, bottom. The last question, and this is more a personal question.
Sure.
Who voiced Clay in your Call of Duty 4 video?
That, and I don't think Nandor would be uncomfortable with me sharing this, is his son.
Ah. Okay.
Which is so cute. His poor son who has to witness his dad edit through all these war crimes, has had to learn what a war crime is. He has not been privy to the editing of World at War at all. I'll just say for the record, Nodder is a great dad. I love his son. He's as someone who wants to be a father, I aspire to be the kind of dad that Nodder is, and having his son voice Clay, it was one of the funniest things that could have possibly happened, because it's one of these things. It's like, for our workflow, I will send him all the footage, and I will send him a full script with timestamps. And then typically he'll show me like one thing if he's too excited about it. He'll upload like, a 20-second clip of just like, look what I'm doing. Or like, after he's had like a long editing session, he'll send me a screenshot of something that he's done. I'm not very privy to like, what the like moment to moment process is until I see the rough cut. And then we start doing like the feedback round and everything. When he sent me the rough cut for Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, and then I heard that voice being, I'm just a little war crime, I was like, what? It cracked me up. It absolutely cracked me up.
Oh, I could see.
So funny.
I could see in like 20 plus years if he like say, if his son like goes into like business or something, or tries to become like an actor, and they're like, asking for, what do you like? You voice act or act? He's like, oh yeah, I did this little thing. My first acting role was actually in this, where he just plays a clip and was like, I'm a little
YouTube channel. Yeah, I was
YouTube. I'm just a little war crime. And they're like, okay.
It's like, I mean, you're hired.
It happens. Like, do any of you guys remember Dr. Tran?
Yeah, why? Why do I remember Dr. Tran?
Dr. Tran is old school YouTube animation, but like, they had this small little kid, and like, what basically we want you to do is we want to give you a backwards visor and we want you to say how awesome Dr. Tran is, and then we're going to supercut where it looks like we punch you in the face, and that is his primary acting role. Like, that is how it happens.
Incredible. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's just these random little things that it's like, if it takes hold, it takes hold, right? Like,
do you have Mary Brown's chicken in the United States? Do you have Mary Brown's chicken in the United States?
Mary Brown's chicken?
Yeah.
I think the question mark at the end of what I just said probably answered that question for you.
Okay, probably not. But there was one point. There was one point where somebody that I knew who was a videographer is just like, "Hey, I'm doing a commercial, and I need actors." And I'm like, "Okay, well, do you want me to get somebody?" And he's like, "Actually, are you free on a Sunday?" And I'm like, "What exactly do you want? Can we have a commercial where you're like this college student who can't make it home for Thanksgiving, and we have, oh, your friend showed up with Mary Brown's chicken?" And I'm like, "Are you honestly having a commercial centered around me?" And I'm like, "Fine, let's fucking do it. Do I get paid?"
Like, great.
Yeah. Do I get paid? No. Fine, I'll just steal some chicken on the way out. Let's do this.
Right. It's like, do I get paid? Absolutely not. You're like, whatever. Like, it's one more credit to make it in the union.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this now. Like, for Clay, the Claymore, you should do like a one Claymore that can actually talk in that voice, and be like a donation.
Take it to Build-A-Bear and like put the little voice in it.
Yeah, and have it be like say like an ultimate prize, like for like I don't know, like a charity or something like that. Like whoever raises the most money, and I will give you this Claymore that will actually talk in this sweet child's voice about being a war crime.
That's one great idea. Second off, I've wanted to figure out a way to get one that has its eyes light up red to mimic the Call of Duty Claymores specifically, because it's like real Claymores don't work like that. Just for the record, like they don't have like infrared death vision.
No,
it's just a string. Like,
it's literally a string and a clacker.
It's a string and a clacker. But like, I want one that has, glowing red eyes, because I just think that would be funny. So yeah, Giga exclusive ultimate charity Claymore. I will keep that in my back pocket should I ever be in a position to like leverage that for a good cause, which I would love to be in.
Is there anything that you want to promote, or anything that you want the audience to bring attention? Because we're pretty much right at the end. So this is we're
right at the end.
Yeah. Spotlight on you.
As I'm thinking about, going into my work day tomorrow, I'll say two things. One, I'm incredibly excited for the World at War video. The little bits and pieces that I've gotten to see from it are incredible. This is going to be my like first foray into making like two versions of a video. So like there will be like a director's cut, like Patreon exclusive, which is probably gonna, if I don't have a good guess. The runtime is going to be significantly longer, and I'm excited for that. And I'm excited for the freedom to like not have to worry about retention, to like talk about more things that interest me while still trying to like, keep the normal YouTube video like around an hour. Probably an hour. Yeah, World at War is probably gonna be an hour and a half if I'm being completely honest. So the extended edition, you could Netflix and chill to that. The other thing that I will say, because and we didn't have a good opportunity to talk about it tonight, but I would really, really love if Immigrations and Customs Enforcement could get the fuck out of my state. That would be huge.
So for those of
you, and also
to all
the people who commented on my video saying you've destroyed your YouTube channel by posting a video about this, and to stay in my lane and to just make videos about video games. No.
I'm going to casually say I watched that video. I actually significantly liked you more, and not because our politics were the same, but because you decided to do something that might harm your channel because you strongly believed in something. Not many people can do that. Not many people are willing to actually sit there and go, this might divide my audience, but god damn it, something needs to be done. And
something needs to be said.
regardless of what how you feel about it, I was proud of you in that moment.
I appreciate that, because it's like, to give a peek into my mind, I mean, it's just like, I made that the day it happened. Right. Like, I mean, I was coming off of, I was trying to do something really, really fun that day. Like my intention was to do something like silly and lighthearted. Like I was in the middle of a live stream.
Yep.
When I got the news that my government killed another
American citizen,
another person in my community, another person, just a few miles from me. And, it's just like what am I supposed to do with that information? Right. And I spent, probably the next like 4 or 5 hours, watching coverage of what was happening and trying to coordinate with my community to figure out what's going on, like what people need help, trying to like comfort myself and my wife, and watching a city that I love like descend again into like all of this upheaval that is just so unnecessary and undeserved. And it's just like that day. I mean, literally that day I was running off of 2 iced coffees and a bourbon. I was just shaking so bad. Like I was just like, adrenaline was spiking and I didn't know what to do. And I was just like, I'm just so frustrated. Like I need to say something. And it didn't even cross my mind. Like, I don't know.
It was
my opinion.
It was raw. It was vulnerable. It was brave.
Thank you. I mean, it's just like, I guess like at the end of the day, my opinion of the whole thing is just like, I'm incredibly fortunate to be able to like sit in this room and talk, and apparently people have decided to listen. I have a platform. I'm not like some like giga huge creator, but it's just like my calculus wouldn't have changed. I don't care if I have 10,000 subscribers. I don't care if I have 10 million subscribers. It doesn't change the fact of like, we're all working in this space to like feed and appease this like machine. And at the end of it all, it's just like, I actually don't really give a fuck about all of that, to be completely blunt. Like, obviously it's just like, yes, I want to pay my bills and I want to keep a roof over my head and I've worked really hard for the life I built. But like, if taking a stance on something that I just feel is like, it's not even a political issue, it's an objectively moral issue. We all watch the same thing. If choosing to speak out about that craters what I'm doing, then everything that I was working towards, I feel like was built on a foundation that I don't want to support. And frankly, the result has been the opposite. For every comment that's been like, you ruined your channel, or like whatever, I mean, it's just like, initially I for every like 30 views, I was like losing like 1 or 2 subscribers. I have like made up that difference and then some, just from that video, which has been incredibly like limited in reach. So it's just like, the reality is just like, the loudest voices don't always matter in this situation. Like the people who were like, how, like stay in your lane, like stick to talking about video games, like don't talk about politics. You haven't been paying attention the whole time then. You've never engaged with what I've actually made.
On one hand, you have the Dixie Chicks, where I can understand that kind of thing, but the major thing, and I've been keeping it lighthearted because once again, there's the journalist part of me that does want it to get into the video that you did on Ice, but then there's the other part of me. I'm like, let's just get to know him and talk about things that make him happy and are passionate. But
I appreciate that. It's been a heavy couple of weeks. So
I know. I was trying to do that, but there was one thing that I keep going back to, and it was I think it was like a book talking about World War II, talking about how the Nazi powers managed to grab hold of Germany. And one of the things that made their war crimes, that made the concentration camps and the execution, the mass extermination of lives, was how good the German government was at making evil banal, making it just feel like another thing. And there wasn't anyone who was, calling it out, saying this is not normal, this is not right. They were whisked away probably executed.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the benefits of having the platform that you have, the responsibility that you have, the audience that you have, is you can point that microphone that you are given and say, this is happening in my town. This is happening to my neighbors. This is not right. And I know I'm just supposed to make stuff that makes you happy, but God damn it, these are human beings. And if more people were like that, we would have a much bigger pushback, because as it seems, people got work in the morning. They don't have the time to sometimes go to a protest. They don't have the time to do things outside of their bubble. But if someone that they look up to or someone that they watch says, hey, this is going on, maybe, just maybe, they might sit there and go, you know what? I need to see what's going on with this protest. Or I need to give to some of the people that are in need. So don't ever think that what you're doing is fruitless. It's brave. And I want to just say thank you so much for taking the time and being here and having this conversation with me. And
thank you for having me.
I hope we can do it again. You can obviously see Spooky Deer on his YouTube channel, which is Spooky, where the O's are zeros, I believe.
Oh, I think on YouTube. Oh God, I can't even keep track. I think on YouTube I'm actually just with O's.
Yeah.
Look. Yeah, I
think it's zeros.
I'm just at Spooky Deer on YouTube. Zeros are a Twitch exclusive. They won't give me the username I want.
And also, I think on TikTok as well. I think also on TikTok, as one of your social medias are like that.
Yes, correct. Yeah, I think it's like 50-50 O's or zeros. The best thing that you can do is go to spookydeer.com, and there will be a socials tab, and that will take you to all the correct links. You don't have to remember O's or zeros at all. spookydeer.com, no zeros.
The following is brought. The following is brought to you in part by Raid Shadow Leggings. Are you a cross-dresser on the go but need something needlessly gaming focused? Do you want to give me $50 for something that's really just $15 at a Walgreens? Then you need Raid Shadow Leggings. Remember the promo code Menstruating Truckers for a 10% discount. Raid Shadow Leggings. What have I done with my life?
God damn it.
Huge news. Incredible. You're writing my outros from now on.
Perfect. But yeah, my name is Matthew Tyler DeLeo, better known as SonicMTD. I am on youtube.com/SonicMTD, all one word, capital S small O small N small I small C, capital M, capital T, capital D, and I guarantee you're going to love what you see. I do live stream on Twitch as we do over here. Not as often. It's to get B-roll for my YouTube videos. Also, I sing in a rock band. If you are Canadian or if you're possibly American and want to be able to see us play, we're called Camo Kimono. C-A-M-O as in camouflage, K-I-M-O-N-O.
Sprinkles.
We would absolutely love to come down and, yeah, if we get into Megfest, there might be an American tour. But either way, as I said before, on behalf of me, on behalf of Spooky Deer, on behalf of Wrath, and everyone else that's watching the chat, thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a wonderful evening, and take care. Later days, guys.
Giggity.
Thanks, everybody. Super fun.